Brahma Government Shrimanacharya Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. Brahma. What is government? Governments are centralized hubs where a medium of topics and Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom attributes are installed. The creation of every national government has tracings through monetary investments from my Indian Hindu kingdom when they were first set up and created from ancient time, as my ancestors created colonialism for that very purpose of good trade, relationships providing governments. The misconception of many people is not understanding the very point of pre-colonial time governments that existed in every country and received independent recognition once the modern political map was drawn. Governments are based on the welfare of the public and to increase its sustainability within its national borders, constantly upgrading its infrastructure with the evolving world and upgrade its laws or provide different laws for Indian Hindu Khumbas as traceable benefactors of the world and national heritage from ancient time to present day continuation. Similar to how the Jews were trying to place themselves into Christian history ignorant of the Atta Codex of Jew from the Guju allegory of Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati people, the exception is that the Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati are all royal and imperials with full tracing of the kingdom that the Jews celebrate but are not a part and have no tracing. Governments also practice the Atta to make neutral sense amongst the international community representing true collective value and direction, and must now start to admit or confess that my ancestors were the creators of the entire Atta system through many made languages of the planet. As it reassures the public and gives them confidence in a system, as governments can only function as systems and therefore getting the entire recognition system concept correct to recognize myself as the only sovereign benefactor of my ancestors' country brings nobility to the country and increases its presence positively. Also, it must be understood that I am the only benefactor and that the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community are the seeded lineages of the Khumbas. Therefore, Rajputs, Brahmins, holy religious non-Sri Sorathia Prajapati community members and any other Hindu Khumbas are not part of the rights, power and entitlements through colonial times into established countries, as even the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community have to declare their own history or lineage. Only 12 family have the entitlement, including myself as the only real Chitroda with heritage and full lineage made up of 225 million Indian Hindu Khumbar Sri Sorathia Prajapati community. Brahma. British government and public servants. My work, discoveries and formulas are part of my own family heritage. They have nothing to do with non-Hindus or the British government and public servants like the police or the military services, including healthcare workers. The British non-Indian Hindus are in clear breach of Hinduism and try to force unwanted cultural beliefs onto Hindus. The British government and its monarch, even the Bank of England, have already publicly been ordered to return the stolen money and artifacts that raised the United Kingdom, and therefore the money must be returned. Full tracings of the origin lead to my family. The British police and its employees are racists and do not understand the Hindu culture. The British government and police services are in clear breach, as Indian Hindus do not want to play for believe in any non-Indian Hindu character star. Whereas during my tapasya I am decoding for the Indian Hindus to provide social community character stars that they want as part of the only official star characters of the Indian Khumbar Hindu Empire. The point of error of the British government and the public servants is that they are not Indian Hindu Khumbars, royals or imperials, and have no such valid function of understanding the etiquette required to speak with Indian Hindu Khumbars. And therefore I hold not trust or faith in the British government or its public servants. It can clearly be said that the British government and public servants are jealous of the Indian Hindus for having a religion and culture that is far more advanced and superior to the United Kingdom and its majority non-Indian Hindu culture and religion, and hustle. It is not correct for Indian Hindus to ever interact with Christians, Catholics, Jewish and their children that may or may not follow their parents' and grandparents' religions and cultural beliefs. Muslims and Sikhs, including native Buddhists, also have the same logic as Hindus about protecting their own religion from the Sudev Christian government and public servant culture manifestation. Brahma. Nagrik Brahaspati. The term Nagrik is given to Indian Hindus that are part of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom that believe in my royal history of Avatar Itihas. The rights of the Indian Hindu Nagrik are those of the normal public and have full voting rights. They may be allowed to study and become ministers within government to help the local community from where they reside and promote good community standards to show the public how to abide by normal current standards of community leveling through royal itihas and its connection to trigonometry, geometry and whole numbers. The typical type of the Nagrik is to upgrade the Indian Hindu community with aspects of Gyan knowledge and make community upgrades. Nagriks do not believe in slavery as their belief are all mathematical based with worship to Bhagwan Bhagwanji Chitroda. The Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom did not believe in slavery as it creates slums and unjustified disturbances within advanced communities. However, after 1736 when my family became private, many people encouraged slavery and misbalanced the Khumbar kingdom chakra system. As my own knowledge is greater than all gurus, I am at Acharya level. I wear my own heritage Bhagwan Brahspati Chitroda ring, indicating that I have my own religious belief that I must make public, stating that now only I am the Nagrik to the universe. As I am the Brahaspati, I form the Brahaspat and take the Vyaspat that entitles myself becoming the Chakravati Samrat via my plus 45 degrees shift in Atar to identify my previous empires by Khumbaratar script. Please note that all Khumbars have already moved to India since the 4th century and are kept there until the Itihas is solved. It can be said due to the continuation of time and Hindu Khumbar administration that only India has Khumbars, as the rest converted away from Hinduism and follow their own religion and culture, eliminating them from the caste and community. The references that I make on Khumbars are Indian Hindu Khumbars only, as it is not possible to become a Khumbar as it's not a Varna based on job or work community. As it is based on the succession to more than 36 thrones of world and universe ownership by my own ancestors becoming the Chakravati Samrat. Please note that Indian Hindu royalty is not for non-Indian Hindus, as the Itihas of Ataryan language is the greatest creation. This to the Indian Hindu Khumbar Sri Sorathia Prajapati is the royal right of history and planetary accomplishments made up of everything possible due to languages and communication. My official duties of Brahaspati to Brahaspat do not interfere with myself as a Nagrik or my Vyaspat as my own Nagrik Prabhav as Nageshwarya, and I have already achieved the Brahaspat. The diagram on the next slide shows my Brahaspat 5. Brahma. Parliament of United Kingdom logo of Lord Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitrama of Darshan of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda opposite is showing my ancestor Bhagwan Shambhunath Chitroda, the real King James I holding the Parliament of the United Kingdom logo of Lord Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda myself. The logo was made in the ancient days before the Ice Age, and it is not clear where the original sculpture is located present day. I was schooled in this area of Muswell Hill, London N10, and it was predestined that I would make these lecture series revealing who I am during the tapasya time of Lord Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda 2012 to 2025. As from the 14th century my ancestor created and paid to make the Houses of Parliament for myself and Big Ben for my mother HRH Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda to remind myself of time. The heading of the Atar equals Parliament equals Parshuram Alpha Royal I Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda are meant to be equals Royal Alpha Parshuram I Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Mangal Dev Madh J13. Located at a private place in Devara, Gujarat, India. In reference to the furthest planet or first planet in the solar system, Pluto. Brahma. Non-Hindus are trapped in the Kala Chakra. The racism started as the Christians, Catholics and Jewish have no continuation for their own religions or cultures and are locked into time periods of absolute poverty as their religious stories state. They also have no Hindu attributes of mine to be decoded into my codex, as those translations are Indian Hindu Khumbar names and characters filling in the Hindu missing history, competing the Hindu pillar of history and its continuation. The native Buddhists and Muslims will enjoy the recitals of my decoding of my own history, matching their own Quran and Shastras, facing the same result as part of a greater empire of planetary history. Therefore, I cannot and will not ever empower any colonial concentrated government or its public servants, as the culture they have created is a synergy of mixed ideals resulting into a pseudo culture that has no future. It must also be remembered that heritages cannot be created, as even the people at the bottom of the Hindu Khumbar Empire triangle hierarchy are greater in heritage and have work accomplished through educating the public on communication since the time European whites were Neanderthals and were moved from Africa to Europe. This means that there is a natural elimination process of government and public servants, as my decoding and ownership is greater than the entire law system, finding the true Indian Hindu Khumbar royals and imperials families that doesn't include the Christians, Catholics or the Jewish community and their spawns. As I am the only one that can translate all 36 age languages of the Indian Hindu Khumbar Empire to possess the ability to decode, the rules of interaction and communication must be made. The mistake all others made, including Hindus, is that they do not understand the official language and do not have any form of correctness, creating false respect factors, leading the pollution the public minds with false idealism and taking away their spiritual consciousness that today only occurs in Indian Hindus through the Indian Hindu language. Christians, Catholics and Jewish people and their spawn are experiencing the last remnants or residue of the Christian, Catholic or Jewish failed concept of spirituality that they are forced into by their own religion, trapping them in a spiritual log forever with no evolution or creativity. Brahma. The purpose of government. The direction of government is to create correct order and abide by universal principles that encourage growth with national and international logic. The gradual synchronizing of authority and understanding whilst respecting different languages and cultures eliminates unpure false slang words and meanings, as they cannot join with the holy order. The main aim of governments are to provide the basic standards of living to the general public and maintain an accountable liability to the public, whilst maintaining good thorough relationships in the view to provide upgrades and clear social problem solving. Progressive governments follow automation protocols and installments to not damage their own reputations and provide understanding of my own attributes to the public. The progression and governance is determined by clarity, good character and notable changes to old outdated systems to encourage greater, more rapid growth. Economic sustainability is the core system within the government and its direct liaison to the public for countering problems amongst the public welfare sets the public flow to growth and prosperity. Without a government, private companies would manipulate the general public with false control and attributes to retain power. Therefore, religious chapter play to correct balance is a valid continuation of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. My mother also worked as imperial agent for India, Africa, China through a Lotus Prajapati network to monitor many people in the UK and abroad, including Indian Hindus, due to overseas concerns regarding child kidnapping, money laundering and terrorism. This was part of her Agatya achievement of including herself with the domestic public and also leveling up to my father's achievements as the only Atta Codex of 007. It is part of her heritage succession and own typical Yadav royal heritage as the only queen in history with her heritage kingdom of PQRS known as Yosoda number 22 as part of her sovereign identity. Please note that Atta Codex of 007 and all other OOs have nothing to do with MI6 or MI5 as they are universal religious entities of the Indian Hindu Khumbar law set. Brahma. The creation of government. The first government on the planet Earth was created by Bhagwan Chitroda, and from there on the setup and strategic office remained within the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. Unlike tribal, Nishad or nomadic values, the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom is very advanced with many defined documents providing ancient summaries of kingdom decisions and history. The recordings of the Brahma Purana are a history account, as Brahma literally means government of the Indian Hindu Khumbas, and Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda is my eternal name and title of my rank within the history of the universe. Prajapati is made of two significant factors: Praja, that means people or public notable to the age, and Pati, meaning ruler or lawmaker based on historical rights, with money installed into making the government colonial money, sovereign assets and investments. These factors further expand into Pra and Jaya as ancient government of the first stage known as Tridata, and Pati as Bhagwan Atari Chitroda, making the laws of Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda by natural metamorphosis out of tapasya, explaining itihas and evidence of power, through eternal truthfulness, eliminating tyranny of a clouded world cast over the national public. Please note that Bhagwan Parshuram Chitroda in the Kathas killed the Mayar or 21 of the old governments due to their corruption and established the correct Atar. In modern Katha, it can be said that my ancestor Bhagwan Akbar Raja Chitroda King Yoy the first override the Latin language to make way for the new correct Atar, giving birth to the English language that turned into English language as created in India by my own ancestors to deploy into Europe. Brahma. Indian Hindu Khumbar Kingdom. The only true kingdom and government still in operation today as a national succession is the Indian government. Through maintaining the Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda order and structure and looking after the Brahma Samaveda written by my ancestor Bhagwan Mahadev Chitroda. The Samavidhan or constitution employed and written by Indian Hindu Khumbas were installed into every government in the world and led to the creation of national governments with core focus points in society or grooming the public. Throughout time there has always been additions and modernization to these structures, and finally it went global again during colonialism. Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar attended Elphinstone School, where he met with my great-grandfather Maharana Pratap No. 107,37,41,822, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj III, Mahaditya Raj, Prithvi Raj Narayan, Bhagwan, Saurashtra Prajapatinath Chitroda Indrabhumi, Bodhi Raj, King Yoy V Solar Raj, Ram Dragon Karan III. And after meeting Dr. Ambedkar was ordered to translate my family's decoding of the Samaveda that went on to become the Samavidhan, installed as a universal government law. My great-grandfather's face can still be found on coins today and is seen in the West as King George V on shilling coins. Brahma. The Kumbharat Atar Rangat. The Kumbharat Atar Rangat is a set of Atar codex values of colors and their representation throughout time. There are a set standard rules relating to the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom people. This is the definition of the appearance of Bhagwan, Dev, real royals, and imperials. Iris color, brown, PMs, 4975C hex color. #38101C, RGB 56,16,28 CMYK, 0,71,50,78. Skin color, Peru, hex, #C68642, RGB, 198, 134,66. CMYK, 0, 0.323, 0.666, 0.223. And darker shades. Hair color number 1A black straight. You will notice that the color chart references match the Atar codex of the Khumbarat Atar Rangat. Please note that this has nothing to do with non-Indian Hindu Khumbas that have similar appearance references. Brahma. What is the dragon bloodline? The dragon bloodline is my own family lineage made up of the eldest sons of the dynasty. This doesn't include other people as it is the family lineage of my ancestors, meaning that cousins and sisters are not included along with her husband's families. And the younger brother is included along with his wife and son or sons. The daughters are not part of the dragon bloodline. As I am the only dragon bloodline, the allegory was created for my private affairs and rituals away from the public, as they cannot achieve the itihas of greatness known as the Hall of Fame. The history of the private empire network can be seen from its creation point located at the holy province of India, Gujarat. It further sums up the first red triangle of Bhagwan Mangal Khumbar Chitroda, made from Chitrods to Mandal to Khumbara, written as Khumbar, red triangle. The equation equals Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda equals Chitrod, red triangle, Mangal Khumbar equals Chitrod, red triangle, Jayesh Khumbar equals Chitrod, red triangle, Jayesh Khumbar equals Chitroda, Jayesh Khumbar equals Chitroda, Jayesh Bhakum equals Chitroda, Jayesh Bhakuno equals Chitroda, Jayesh Bhakanjeev equals Chitroda, Jayesh Bhaganjeev equals Chitroda, Jayesh Bhagwanji equals Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. Each of my other name manifestations is noted as a history summary of my empires. Brahma. Dragon bloodline. My dragon bloodline located at the eye of the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, showing the dragon located India, Gujarat. The astrological symbology nakshatra is Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda and the symbol of red triangle. My own heirloom Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda ring is the original as worn by Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda himself, with the great red triangle a representation of my own family lineage. The people that live at Chitroda or at town names of Chitroda or similar are not connected to myself or family history. Dragon bloodline is a time marker for the awakening of the dragon from its egg known as Hindu, with the Henu month making it Hindu. Making myself Bhagwan Nageshwar Chitroda with the Itihas mathematical codex of Ang 2. Incompletion of the alphabet set. For example, Langeshwar to Lingeshwar, Nageshwar to Ningeshwar. Creating the Chamunda mantra of Lang, Leng, Ling, Long, Lang Shreem Namaha. The word for dragon in the Indian Hindu, Gujarati, West, East, Central and North India is Nag. And in Oriental countries it's Lang, Len, Long, Lung. The next slide you will see the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, showing Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda #1, often called Kanodo by the Indian Hindu Gujarati people. Brahma. Bhagwandra Chitroda. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, showing Bhagwandra Chitroda, my ancestor. It is the continuation of only my Indian Hindu Khumbar Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Hindu royal chapter through my own ancestry. The word dragon originates from here. Dra plus Gar equals Draji at H equals Draji on equals dragon. Brahma. Bhagwandra Chitroda. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, showing Bhagwandra Chitroda, my ancestor. This is part of my lifestyle as the Dragon Emperor. It is part of my Bhagwan Nageshwar Chitroda avatar. You will see him sitting on his throne with the Apasara next to him, as when my tapasya finishes I have to meet women as part of Indian Hindu Khumbar tradition, religion, heritage and culture. Brahma. Bhagwan Nageshwar Chitroda. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Bhagwan Nageshwar Chitroda. The entire region is known as Dwarkadish and I am the only representative of my ancestors' Atar codex of Devki mathematics. There are many other Dwarka at a codex town names all over the planet, all form part of my private dragon empire. Bhagwan Nageshwar Chitroda is my ancestor from my Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda kingdom, where there are 13 Bhagwans of my Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda dynasty empire summarized as Bhagwan Indrabhumi Chitroda, Bhagwan Indradata Chitroda, Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda, etc., symbolized by the V in the crown. You can see him majestically sitting in this throne with his crown that at different heights shows the symbolism of the Indian Hindu Gujarati number 4 with plus 90 degrees, matched to that of other places with the same symbol seen by the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The height elevation of the crown also displays a Om symbol and the number 25, that is old representation of V. The Om is located by the ear to create the Devanagari to Gujarati Om as representing 0 or Suniye listen. This crown can be said to represent the crown of Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra upon expansion shows him playing with his dragon and sitting on his dragon at the same time. This is quite normal Hinduism, as many Mataji Murtis have them sitting on a lion, tiger, etc., whereas I get to sit on the dragon as part of my Hindu conclusiveness. Brahma. Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda, myself, and my 3+ Om of my ancient Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom. The image is located at the top of the United Kingdom. You will notice Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda holding his Brahmastra Naushantara Indra Shakti commanding the 3+ Om kingdom. I am the 51st Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda to ever teach my own history and have commanding force in the universe, as all previous Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda have been my own ancestors as part of my Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom Dharmstapna. Only Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda can start the correction process of government and public by restoring truth and order of Itihas that may have strayed or have been diluted. Brahma. Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Dragon Map 1. This is the map that starts when the new age is approaching. It is a setup of various events that lead to my own family going into hiding at the end of the previous age and create the new installation of science and mathematics with Itihas. The start of the celebration happened with Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom characters as the achievement of the BJP and other majority Indian Hindu Kumbhar political parties successfully progressed into taking over the Indian government at the start of the millennium, making India on the international level as a sovereign Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom. The Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Dragon Map 1 was originally drawn when the world was a different landscape. There were small seas gathering at water tables from the 3 major ice asteroid crashes that were melting and creating rivers. The most notable characteristics of dragon maps is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing dragons in these regions celebrating my dragon bloodline and the private achievements of my ancestors. The entire story of creation and symbolism 13 times 13 private dragon mandirs amounting to 169 Shivling mandirs as summarized in the untold story of the Bhagwan Lingeshwar Chitroda. This to the Udaipurians is known as the Katha Ekalinga as one part of the 13 ancient dragon kingdoms of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda known as Indralok. Brahma. Dragon Map 1 decoded. You will notice that the map is arranged with a series of lines that present the kingdom roots. There are 3 segments of the Dragon Map 1 that remain with the display of my Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. It is within these large sections that my ancestors created the private citadels. The top half of the section shows a picture of Bhagwan Mangaldev Chitroda holding a flag. Left to him you will see Australia as a war hog and the Southeast Asian islands as a turtle, thus making the world governments with aspects of my Bhagwan Kurma Chitroda Empire and my Bhagwan Vair Chitroda Empire. The Katha of capturing the flag ancestor is of my ancestor Bhagwan Dhananjay Chitroda. The middle section shows from Russia image of a dragon following through to owl with the Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda sitting on this throne in the Atlantic Sea to a great large shivling in the Pacific Sea. The final segment shows the image of my ancestor Bhagwan Jayesh Chitroda with his crown. Each map has reference to the Katha place of the empire. Brahma Dragon Map 6. The world map as we know it has also changed in how the ancient Bhagwan devs calculated the logic of the next empire and kingdom location with complete understanding of the planetary climate evolution system. With these elements taken into consideration, the Dragon Map version 6 shows the start of the journey to end from India to conclude the Dragon Bloodline Empire with the related mandirs. There are 6 versions that all together show the shifts of ice load on the planet from north to south in intervals. Each map works along a time scale and universal change on the planet representing the completion of our Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda dragon maps. It can be said that there are 6 states to the world map, each showing the adjustments that have to be made in accordance to the weather conditions and the start and finish of ice ages on the planet. The dragon map pattern can be found using the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda with representations in Kathas. Brahma Dragon Map 6 Decoded. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda shows many images that are defined to be manifested again as upgrades due to the new Agent series completion. The top left-hand segment shows images of a classical Indian Hindu Kumbhar Bhagwan Vair Chitroda Empire mask in the Pacific Ocean, moving along to show an image of Bhagwan Januman Chitroda and further along to an elephant known as Hatti, or in this case Jati meaning Hindu caste. The next segment shows in the Pacific Sea image of Bhagwan Brahma Trikal Chitroda myself holding the Khumati sword pointing it west. Then moving north from the Atlantic Ocean to show the face of Bhagwan Lingeshwar Chitroda as I am Bhagwan Lingeshwar Chitroda number 169. The start of European mainland is shaped like a 3-ohm shape with the Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Vajra sign of plus casted over Europe at 45 degrees turning into X. The next image along the route is Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda holding his Brahmastra Naushantara Indra Shakti pointing to Europe with the image of a dragon further along to the tip of Russia. The last segment shows myself prophesied as Bhagwan Ming Chitroda with a crown. Further along it shows myself as Bhagwan Ning Chitroda with a crown as Madagascar. The next section along you will find the Katha of Bhagwan Parshuram Chitroda as my great-grandfather was Bhagwan Parshuram Chitroda number 30 and started the Atar Codex of H.R.H. Bhagwati Oshoda Bhavis Pushpa Ben Bhagwanji Chitroda Queen Rani Sia. The remaining Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing the completed Atar of Wing, Zing, Ying and Zing Royal Imperial titles of myself and own forefathers located within the Indochina region, therefore completing the installed framework and data codex. The dragon map images shown are a little blurry to obtain the definition of the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda at the correct distance away from the planet to show the highness of Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda. Brahma. Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Nag Panch. The video shows the Nag Panch kingdom of my ancestor Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda. The root of the snake shows the ancient Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda dragon citadels and becomes a Sheshnag around the Arctic Circle in the shape of Om. It has been misrepresented in the translations of the Ramayana as the Indrajit Nag Panch weapon that bound Ram and Lakshman when in fact they were trying to trace the history. The weather patterns around these routes were very good and presented as summer and winter abodes whilst continuing the Royal Imperial systematic rituals of installing advanced Atar Codex Chamunda Shri Mantras. Dragon Map version 6 was started by my ancestor and his Mahajatpith empire following the dragon path and my prophecy as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51. Brahma. Bhagwan Maharana Pratap Chitroda. The image shows the 12 Jyotirlings of Bhagwan Mahadev Chitroda. There are 13 in total. The image represents the sequence of the Avarna Trikona mathematics or the Golden Triangle mathematics as commercially taught by ancestor Bhagwan Prashaspati Chitroda. This system is as used by Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda to create the Nag Panch map and symbolize it with Jyotirling mandirs he made of the correct empire set with the correct route. The points of the Jyotirlings translate to the real shape of the earth in accordance to the Nag Panch route. These locations can be joined together to find the Atta Katha animation of my empires, that can be overlapped producing fixed point ruling with Atta Katha animation. This is part of my Dragon Empire Atharling series and the Katha of Bhagwan Maharana Pratap Chitroda number 107,37,41,825 myself. Brahma. Public monuments. The symbolism of this dragon celebrates my own dragon bloodline awakening as the Bhagwan and Emperor of the universe known as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51, through other Royal Imperial empires of mine that stem to the calculation time of my own birth. The city of London is decorated in dragon emblems and celebrates my own heritage that has a separate from the British monarchy. The British government, however, is older than the current British monarchy, and was set up and funded by my own ancestors and is part of my ancient British Khumbar heritage. This dragon monument was erected in the city of London as a time celebration for myself. The Atar Codex of British equals 13 Royal Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda plus Ash. Britain equals 13 Royal Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda plus Alpha Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda Ram. I am the 13th Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda to have ever graced the British Islands. The Atar Itihas Katha of Britain equals pre equals 13 Royal Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda and the Ta equals country suffering from famine or a lack of food supply. There are many other monuments around the world that celebrate Atar attributes of myself and ancestors. Brahma. The Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapati Brahmastra. The celebration of creating a new Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom is ritualized by making a Brahmastra or using a family inherited one. In many TV and media showings, the Brahmastra has been not represented correctly due to language errors and a lack of research analysis. The Brahmastra are not weapons but Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom courtroom identification, and can only be used by official Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapati. The Brahmastras were first created during the end of the Tridata age by Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda and flourished as standard Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapati regalia during the start of the Kalpa age in my Bhagwan Vaman Chitroda empire. They were worn as pieces of official government duty notifying the public of government work and updates to be enforced. Brahmastras were originally created in India and made of meteor, comets, and asteroids. The craftsmanship moved to South America and then to Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines and Brunei where they are part of official and cultural regalia today. From my Mahajatpith archaeological excavations of my older buried kingdoms, The art of making or the maker of Brahmastra are called Dhokra or Dhokia, and they have been making them for the past 5,000 years in India. In the Southeast Asian Mahajapit region, the makers are called Impu, and they have kept the tradition of making keris alive as a cultural symbol of remembrance from the 14th century. Please note that Brahman or Brahmin community people have nothing to do with Brahmastra or keris, as it is not their identity. Brahma. Brahmastra. The picture opposite is of a Brahmastra, often called keris or kris, as remembrance to the official government of Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda. Traditional Brahmastra are made by Dokara, Dhokia, and Impus, with fasting and Hindu Kumbha rituals. The blade is made from asteroids, comets and meteor alloys. There are straight blades or wavy blades in numbers of 3 waves, 5 waves, 7 waves, 9 waves of 33 waves. The waves are called locks and represent ancient Indian Hindu Kumbha kingdoms. The most powerful or greatest Brahmastra recorded in history belonged to my own ancestor Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda, and it was called Brahmastra Naushakti. Bhagwan Karan Chitroda buried and hid it in Kalimantan Islands, and it changed name to Brahmastra Naushantara Indra Shakti. The Brahmastras also have an official cleaning day with Indian Hindu Kumbha rituals, where old sheaths are often replaced with new ones and the blade is cleaned with limes and coconut milk, then smoked with incenses. The blade is then oiled with exotic flowers whilst mantras are chanted onto it. Often the sheaths and the hilts or handles are changed or replaced and customized. The section of the Brahmastra that connects the hilt to the blade is known as putling. It connects to the hilt cup called mendak, often decorated in diamonds and precious gemstones by choice. There are many famous magical stories of Brahmastras originating from the Indian Hindu Kumbha kingdom that are still told all over the Southeast Asian archipelago as around the world. Brahma. The empire of Bhagwan Ramdev Peer Chitroda. The swastika present the planetary migration routes of Indian Hindu Kumbha kingdoms and civilizations. There are 2 ages when the corrected Atar was used to populate the areas, as first established by my Bhagwan Vaman Chitroda Empire and the other of my Bhagwan Ramdev P. Chitroda Empire. The migrations throughout time have noted a DNA characteristic change to human form due to the vegetation, food, mineral levels, environment, climate etc. The 4 major characteristics are INA, INDNA and INC. The entire area that make up the swastika on the map present timed astrological kingdoms of my Indian Hindu Kumbha Empire with designated Bhagwan titles of my own lineage and heritage. The INA army during colonial times wrote and transferred messages in code and invisible ink, creating the Atar Katha of INA INC, translating to secret of the Indian Hindu Kumbhas and my Indian Hindu Kumbha African kingdom. The IND to IRD is a change from the Ram characters to the Omega character for the purpose of establishment and is official imperial lodging with the modern political map. Today in secret archives or public-made colonial time archives you will notice the secret messages in iodine invisible ink written over British administration and other government paperwork by a network of INA, INDNA and INC Army imperial agents. The technique later became famous in the modern spy world. Brahma. Satya. The Satya is the correct name for swastika and dates back to the first Indian Hindu Kumbha kingdom of my Bhagwan Manchitroda Empire and notes the roots of kingdom establishments avoiding the ice asteroid crash sites. Mapping symbol of migration routes of the first swastik government of India Gujarat Chitroda and the second swastik government located at Mexico Chichen Itza. The Atar Codex Itihas equals Chichen Itza equals Chichen Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda za equals Chichen Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Vajra Government J. Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda equals IHC Nehak Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda, J. Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda equals INC Nach Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, Bhagwan Indra Chitroda, J. Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda. The entire Attar decoding equals the INC Dragon Dance of Victorious Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda, Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda and Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. Chichen Itza is my ancestors' kingdom and I am the only traceable person to it. It is a location of celebration of Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda, Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda and myself to enjoy war and victory celebrations. The symbol has travelled throughout time and was also completed during colonialism by the Indian Hindu Khumbas, and they rejected the Nazi regime as none of them are traceable to the swastika and tried to create a dilution of rights based on their own opinions that are not part and not wanted by the Indian Hindu Khumbas. The symbol belongs to myself as inheritor of the kingdom. On the next slide you will see images of kingdom migrations of the INA move to INC and then to INA via my swastika map previous. Please note that all INA, INC, IND and INA are Indian Hindu Khumbas and reside in India as part of the sovereign Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom with labelled Indian Hindu Khumbar province or kingdom titles acknowledged by the Government of India. Non-Indian Hindu Khumbas cannot be traced to INA, IND, INC or INA. Brahma. The role of the government. The role of the government is a constantly evolving chapter of installers of legislation to provide mobility for the public within the core system and limiting detrimental effects to the general public and alliances. The main concept of individual governments with national identities are to maintain peace and harmony within cultural systems that benefit individual people based on cultural and religious beliefs. The role of the MPs is to act as agents from the core of the system to collect data of attributes that are required to create progress and neutrality within the realm as to keep calm the mind of the public whilst delivering celebrated achievements. The government also has power as public representatives to override their own monarchy that are not proven with the correct heritage and can create a break in global consciousness of reality, not forgetting that Asia, Africa, Central and South America have not yet sold their own history publicly, as in most countries the administration of government and other growth factors are just starting, as they may mark an indication of deterioration and corruption within the monarchy, causing public unrest and constant confusion. Europe has adopted their own general public as a democracy to vote against the country's monarchy if it needs to be re-elected, as the rights of any monarchy with respect to all religions is not applicable. And therefore Indian Hindu Khumbas have real Royal Imperial sovereign heritage, as can be proven, rather than a acting star cast fantasy chapter of failed history composition. The most essential part of the government is to protect Sri Sorathiya Prajapati community heritage people as to set various examples of good practice within the particular sector they work for, each member with their own resume skill set plus extra traditional cultural values. History is formed in this manner, to which the government and public are proud to represent, as being taught by Indian Hindu Khumbas as written in history, forming a republic within religion systems and ancient family networks. Brahma. Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda. There are 13 planets, also known as Devgraha, that were established in sequence from observing astrological time factors. Each sequential kingdom taught a different aspect of mathematics, science and technology, whilst my ancestors maintained imperial rule over the kingdoms. The typical kingdom grew by having their headquarters or first dynasty kingdom located in India, then making a twin kingdom based on geographic coordinates of Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda and his command of completing the Attar Codex. When all planet kingdoms were completed, a great ritual took place pronouncing my ancestor as Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda, creating a Daksh direction, Naksh map, Moksh education and Kaksh throne room of the entire universe and its history. Today I hold the title of Prajapati as it is my Royal Imperial family heritage title, not a community title. The current stories of Prajapati are wrong and not correct, as it is not the history of the people that made TV serials. Many people in India still use their Prajapati title if they can trace their own heritage to having a function within the ancient kingdom. Please note that all these kingdoms are actually empires and the people are Indian Hindu Kumbhas and cannot be studied or copied by anyone, as the equation of India was made by my ancestor Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda and was completed by my ancestors in 1725. The Prajapati is a great rank within the universe and have careers in every sector of society. And so it starts the foundation of creating an advanced Indian Hindu community for space conquest to witness the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda appearing on other planets and galaxies throughout the universe. There are a small set of islands located in Scandinavia that are named as Sri Sorathia Prajapati Natta Codex, with my own great-grandfather as the owner proclaiming his own title inherited through the family lineage to myself. Within the area there is an allegory of Sudra that became Shudra Brahmins in India during the 18th century. The entire area is known by its correct letter of Sadra, an abbreviation of Bhagwan Bhadrakal Chitroda. Sadra equals Shriman Archayadra, as his son Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda installed the Gone government from pre-Ice Age. This is where the word dragon originated within Western cultures, as it's known by traditional names in other languages and cultures. Brahma. Pradhan. The role of the Pradhan is to follow the wishes of the Prajapati. Both are constructed with the word of pra, meaning Indian Hindu Kumbhar government. The Prajapati has the Atar Codex of Japati, meaning people of the time of the first planetary age. And Pradhan turns from Dhan to Dhyan, meaning to focus on the public. These terms are the valid entities of the Indian Hindu construct of government, as the majority voting population are Indian Hindu Kumbhas. The role of the Pradhan is only within India. Once the Pradhan leaves on state or foreign affairs, he or she is no longer Pradhan and the title is returned once returned to India. The Pradhan is the highest representative public government title of the Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom, however secondary to Prajapati. The Pradhan has a duty of focus on the Indian Hindu Kumbhas that have elected him and does not have to concentrate on the non-Indian Hindu public that have not voted for his elected position, thus creating the classical migrations and completions of the sovereign land with alike persons of same religions, as not to have a land with conflict and clashing. The Pradhan has the right to change or amend the current law to suit the majority population, and this making the Pradhan greater than countries that have royals, prime ministers or presidents titles. Understanding that India is a Hindu imperial royal sovereign kingdom made of several different types of people under one religion of Hinduism, with a multitude of languages, cultures and ancient histories dating back to the very start of time on planet Earth itself. Each province kept in its own correctness of atom-like evolution of a planetary museum of history. The oldest people in the world with languages, culture and religion are the Indian Hindu Gujarati Kumbhas, with full recording of the Atta Codex. Please note that the Tamil community was made in the 18th century by British administration. They were not a royal or advanced community like the Indian Hindu Kumbharat. Literature was left in South India by the educated Gujarati, Rajasthani communities. The Tamils even sold the Tipu Sultan collection and then tried to make a history for themselves from other people's history that still remains distorted. The Tamils are also not a part of the INA army and do not belong to the Swastik kingdom, and they never fought in the Asian INA wars or World War I or World War II and did nothing to install the government of India or any other country, so they cannot ever achieve the Pradhan title. Brahma. Rashtrapati. The role of the Rashtrapati is foreign representation and liaisons officer. The duty to maintain good relations with international countries and attend events that the sovereign Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom has interests within. whilst remaining totally independent from non-Indian Hindu interests to judge the non-Hindus on pressures and attacks they may be creating in other countries and communities due to conflict of non-sovereignty, planetary history and leaderships. The Rashtrapati is elected by the recommendation of the Pradhan, as she or he are not elected by public voting, as it is internal government voting only. The Rashtrapati is not attached to non-Indian Hindu countries and therefore makes several recommendations based on the standards of Indian Hindus living outside of India and proposes change of non-Indian Hindu majority countries due to practicing religious laws without any valid source of origin. The Rashtrapati understands the fiscal and fragile terms in which non-Indian Hindu communities choosing to promote India have to limit their ability and authority, as India is a Hindu sovereign country and other religions are found outside of India are not required to be understood by Hindus. The Rashtrapati is greater than royals, imperials, prime ministers, and presidents and has a duty to the Prajapati myself if living outside of India and is answerable to myself as the authority over all non-Indian Hindu majority governments. Brahma. Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda. Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda was and is the first treasurer of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom, and his functions included making a banking monetary system with an exchange system. The surplus fees were used as a reserve system. The banking system functioned as a treasury bank where precious metals were exchanged in forms of ancient coins and tokens that functioned as passports. The exchange grew to planetary level all over the planet and is now part of all governments' independent country bank. For example, how the Bank of England functions independently from the United Kingdom government. These systems include many credit facilities that encourage people to systematically grow to personally develop within society if there is a current plan for the individual within its community. Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda was also noted as the brother of the famous engineering team Ravan, as they worked in close quarters with the Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda and their work was timely monitored and received their pay accordingly to work done. The role of Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda was to create a separate union fund affected by people in conflicts, as it functioned for good and bad people independently based on their oldest family history. So the sum of the functions of the treasury increased with the introduction to businesses under other naming and systems. It was often the case that throughout history the Kuber system and treasury created many coins of the ancient world still found in archaeological projects today that were made from famous war takeover and victories of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom, symbolizing ancient world and planetary dominance. The right of way is simple, as Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda was and is also the first reserve military creator, that's reserve soldiers made from his welfare system that overtook the population of the existing military heritage class soldiers, and created the tertiary sector with public enterprises and allocated a monetary lookout within the public. The system created a regular equality style function on merit and good karma. Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda functioned as angel investor with private investment ideals by taking over smaller kingdoms and merging them as one country or kingdom, creating value in the elements and crafts of making things, hence creating Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda. Today in commercial Hinduism, Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda is the only deity in idols and paintings that carries the Brahmastra apart from Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda. The Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda system became an automatic function, eliminating monetary concerns. Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda to venture on expanding the kingdom, providing upgrades and commercial value. It is the first noted appreciation factor within the monetary system, where a 10-gram gold coin with a picture of Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda printed on it was worth more than a 10-gram gold nugget without any commercial, historical or other value. Brahma Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda. You will notice him sitting next to his dragon on the top half of the image. The first planetary treasury system and bank. The treasury system grew to international level and funded the entire making of the world, including world banks and national banks of the modern age that are all accountable and traceable through my own sovereign history. Brahma Bhagwan Sameru Chitroda. The focus on building a establishment empire also relies on the invoking Bhagwan Sameru Chitroda. The Sameru deity is the son of Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda and is responsible for itihas, history and correction of Atta through making new Indian Hindu Khumbar empires. The both are seen as brothers and are also noted as treasury units for my ancestors' empire. Many stories of Bhagwan Sameru Chitroda have been consolidated into various versions of the Shiv Puran as the creators of the official itihas rites of building the universe in the correct way using a monetary system based on contribution to the universe. The Hindu Khumbar epics often talk about Mount Meru that are actual history epilogues of the Sameru division in relation to words used in ancient times as installed into society. They form part of the greater architecture within the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom and all world governments in the past, present or future, due to being made from my real sovereign history. Brahma. Bhagwan Meru Chitroda. This is a Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Meru Chitroda named through itihas consolidation by Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda to Bhagwan Sameru Chitroda to Bhagwan Semer Chitroda according to Atta Codex. The Bhagwan Meru Chitroda Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is found in many countries as starting points of being able to correct itihas history of any land, country, planet, solar system or galaxy. The deity corrects all Atta Codex and history found in all languages and communications that exist in the universe. You will notice the image with the Bhagwan Meru Chitroda next to the Brahmastra Naushantara Indra Shakti disguised as a small lake, a standard protocol shape as the rivers start to dry or form. Brahma. Praja. The Praja is the official title of the people or citizens of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom that can be found throughout the planet and maybe on other planets. The Praja is made of Pra as the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom and Naja as two formats, one as Jai Mangal Dev tracing the Praja to the first age of the planet and Ja as the second age. These qualities make the Praja greater than royals or imperials, prime ministers, presidents and all non-Indian Hindu religious leaders due to the fact that non-Indian Hindu religious and ancient history books are kathas or stories of the Indian Hindu Khumbar Praja. And non-Indian Hindus already having accepted the truth of their own religions provides the required evidence to the non-Indian Hindu Khumbar religions as benefactors of nothing. As ordination and origination must be from India. The Praja is kept away from myself due to their own inability of sovereign heritage and rights, and therefore their rights exist in election voting. Brahma. Plus Ankh, Tank, Tak. The title of Ankh is a notation that was created in the last 5,000 years only, and is not a valid title anymore due to Indian Constitution and position name upgrade. The meaning of Ankh is Minister Northern Mariana Islands, MLA, or Mayor. Typically Ankh is an Indian Hindu aristocrat that was employed from an Indian Hindu Khumbar international background to help set up and create international governments from the past 2000 years, including creating many great religious buildings around the world on the authority of my ancestor Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda, due to installing scriptures and the start of the official Indian Hindu colonialism and domestication of the human race. The history tracing of Ankh is to the Indian Hindu Khumbar community, as others with a similar name from another community were domesticated and then given their names after their sponsors. The Attar Codex has given name of tank where plus Ank is the correct understanding. Hence the plus is the rendering and installation of Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda niyam and niti laws for the public in order to grow the country with democracy. Typically the Anks were employed to cover and install three main race governments of America North and South, Europe and Asia including Australasia, and helped with many migrations of people to return to their original language origins. During the Mahabharata days the Anks were general war negotiators between kingdoms reporting to the Global Imperial Senate similar to NATO advisors. The tracing of the Anks is a simple one, the plus equals T and making the surname Tank or Tank depending on their own tracing. All Anks are Indian Hindu Gujarati Khumbas mostly found in the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community and Vansadharji communities. Brahma. Taxes and state evolution. The rise of all modern countries rose and developed due to tax collections being invested into the kingdom or empire. This method is the only way to grow the kingdom to maintain upgrades within the system, whilst providing amenities to poor and less able. The attributes led to the welfare system and other grants that encompasses integration of the population into the society. There are many people that in today's world receive money as benefits and have had no input even by family ancestors to the creation of the free welfare system. Countries that have not placed these measures have fallen with corruption and stole money from my ancestral set-up governments to govern and look after the public. And so they are considered less than the people that have provided for the world to be built, as many welfare systems were made illegally through my own ancestral inheritance. And therefore the circle of tax, investment, return and development are the cyclical methods of governance. The New Age post-1947 governments have always functioned with taxing the public to maintain the government. The method is functioned on tax deducted from wages automatically to encourage faster development. The treasury leading to the creation of the treasury was created and managed upon my own ancestors' commands. Power is never given to the government as it is only a function for the public and itself as an company is accountable to the public. Brahma. Hidden Attar Codex of World Governments. All governments, religious buildings and countries have archives and Attar that also carry hidden visual Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom memorials and history. Many have not yet been discovered due to the misconception of non-Indian Khumbar kingdom people as their own history is not a correct recollection due to nationalism. All Nishads and nomads are not Khumbas and were moved and exported out from their primitive lifestyles and cultures and today are known as Christians, Catholics, Zoroastrians, Muslims, Islamics, Jews of Judaism, Native Africans, Sikhs, and pagans. The migration started during my Bhagwan Ramdev Pir Chitroda dynasty around 5000 years BC due to climate change and human lifestyle upgrade, as my Bhagwan Ramdev Pir Chitroda empire was designed to migrate and populate lands and standings known today as ancient religious buildings. This became a classical overlapping of history with class formations to which non-Khumbas can never represent or become part of the global Khumbar heritage due to religious separation and history separation, with no contributions or monetary donations given to creating the global Khumbar planetary kingdom and national governments that exists today around the world. Non-Khumbas are known as impersonators, actors or people with mental health and social character problems due to non-traceable history to the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom, often naming their children both boy and girl after religious characters, trying to compensate for their own lack of family background, trying to produce a star with false empowerment. The Indian Hindu Khumbar naming system is based on mathematical and continuous live-time play, eliminating already played history chapters of non-Indian Hindu religions and cultures. The Attar Codex proves my own Royal Imperial sovereignty heritage only. There are many examples of the hidden Attar manifested and created everywhere in society, including buildings, books, nature, communication, creativity, etc. The identification of this leads to its traceable value if the person is Indian Hindu, Gujarati Khumbar or Sri Sorathia Prajapati community. Please note that governments of any country cannot ever have access to my powers or ever inherit them, as governments do not have a spiritual entity, as they are made up of members of the public that have their own faith and religious beliefs. Governments are a public after 1947 administration office for the public made to serve the public as public servants. Whereas religious Indian Hindu Khumbar Sri Sorathia Prajapati governments can provide authority and history along with administration based on heritage and public recognition. It is also often the case that government workers or employees never discover the hidden atta values within society or government buildings, whereas history enthusiasts create or reference these paths. Brahma. Bhagwan Kumbera Chitroda. You will see the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing my ancestor Bhagwan Kumbera Chitroda, part of my Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda dynasty empire. Bhagwan Kumbera Chitroda is seen in the picture majestically looking at his pet, the war hog. This is the start of creating all types of governments around the world, the first migration of population to inhabit the world. There are three types of Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. First is the entire surface contours of the planet, second is the Bhagwan Ketu Dev Chitroda field pictures, and third is the evolving political world map. Please note that only Indian Hindu Kumbhas are traceable to all representations of these three types of world layouts, myself as the only true Royal Imperial descendant of its creation and evolution. Brahma. Bhagwan Veera Chitroda, India. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda shows the Bhagwan Veera Chitroda war hog. The Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom created the Khumbar Prajapati warriors that travelled around the world to recreate the world in its former order from the location highlighted within the red box. The central headquarters of the entire Indian Hindu Khumbar was located in India, Gujarat. My ancestor Bhagwan Karan Chitroda, son dynasty of Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda, was the founder of the re-establishment after the Ice Age and Great Flood. In the past, the Africans and Indians were responsible for making the government and enslaved the Europeans to work for them. It is correct to say that the slave stories of African Negroes is a complete lie, as the African Negroes used white people as slaves for over 3,000 years. When they were developing to humans from Neanderthals. This was a continuation from the Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda empire. The term Gollywog originated from Gullywog and symbolizes how whites turned into dark suit-covered people as they never took baths. The Wog is a lesser term than hog and represents white Europeans. Gully means mine worker. Guli equals gu, fy equals gufa equals mine or cave. Brahma. Bhagwan Veera Chitroda, India. Bhagwan Veera Chitroda headquarters. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing the headquarter location of the Bhagwan Veera Chitroda empire. The area of the headquarters is located in India, Gujarat. Governments were created from this point throughout the world in utter logic and fashion to finally complete the world political map today with the same symbolism. The entire empire was started by my ancestor Bhagwan Karan Chitroda empire, remaking civilization again 15,000 years ago after the Great Flood and Ice Age. The Bhagwan Karan Chitroda empire were all Indian Hindu Kumbhas known as Prajapati, or they called Sri Sorathia Prajapati community, but refined to those that are related families to my father Bhagwanji Mipa Chitroda by associations and not necessarily relations. Brahma. Bhagwan Veera Chitroda, Africa. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing the Bhagwanji Chitroda Empire. You will notice that the snout of the war hog is located in Ethiopia. This entire land mass known as Sahara has the Utter code of Sahara equals Sahara equals Vahara equals Vehara equals Vera, and finally with myself as Bhagwanji Chitroda the Viraja, also known in the area as Vejar or Veja. The modern world political map of North and Central Africa shows the modern Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda during my youth. Image of myself wearing 2 earrings, sunglasses and my hairstyle. Located at the first part of 2 halves of the rectangle starting from the west coast and tilted -45 degrees. Brahma. Bhagwanji Chitroda, Panama. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Bhagwanji Chitroda Empire. The image is very clear showing a war hog. The country of Panama is decorated and named in Utter Codex with scientific notations illustrated by town, village, city names. The image further expands to an infrastructure protocol of selecting female non-Indian Hindu Khumbar prime ministers and presidents of countries due to a sacred bond between myself to non-Indian Hindu Khumbars of Panama. Around this region there is a scared Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing how Neanderthals were created and evolved into white Europeans. The war hog is the symbolism of mother to the white Europeans as they eat much of it as part of the Christian and Catholic religion and is regarded as a sacred acceptance food. Brahma. Bhagwanji Chitroda, Saudi Arabia. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwanji Chitroda Empire. The path of the ice asteroids crashing and melting into the Black Sea and Taklamakan, Tibet created this landscape through deposits of earth. However, the images can still be seen by satellite. The definition of the land in terms of shape and water flow produced the covering of the image. The animal today is considered sacred to the land inhabitants and do not eat it due to the recolonization of the land. Central points of the pre-Great Flood civilization exists as their ancient buildings found around the land mass. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda also shows an image of a king jaguar symbolized by my youth as a king jaguar in relation to its war or fighting attributes of hunting and killing alligators and crocodiles. Brahma. Bhagwan Chandrasekhar Chitroda. The picture opposite is of the Al-Nasla of Saudi Arabia. Al-Nasla equals AI demonstration or example. This stone was cut after the 14th century but existed as a fully carved monument pre-Great Flood time. The boulder has a straight cut through it and resembles the saber-toothed tiger that evolved to the jaguar. My ancestor Bhagwan Chandrasekhar Chitroda number 23 made this cut in the stone to show the evolution of technology. His sword was known as the diamond cutter, as rough diamonds look like moon rock and when polished they shine like the moonlight. There are many other boulders and stones within the area that are from my previous empires that match various Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda in India and local region. Many of the boulders and stones still need to be excavated as they are still buried underneath the ground and sand. This will prove if the ice age covered the Arab Peninsula or it remained submerged in water. Brahma. Bhagwanji Chitroda, Indonesia/Brunei. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwanji Chitroda Empire. This image was created due to the natural contour and high points of land that were not submerged during the Great Flood. This area is known as part of my Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda kingdom. Much of the cultural heritage was restored during the 9th century as the Nishads that lived in the area as scattered tribes respect the sacred land and ancient Indian Hindu Khumbar buildings as wanting to become united as one kingdom again. There have been many migrations to the land as before the Great Flood the area was a central government point to the entire archipelago of Southeast Asia. Brahma. Bhagwan Chitroda, Australia. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Chitroda Empire. The landmass of Australia has seen and had many Indian Hindu Khumbar civilizations and empires. The entire image has partly been submerged by water from the Great Flood and has also been covered by ice glaciers creating the pressure on the earth to create mineral deposits. The blueprint of creating the mining deposits was drawn by Bhagwan Brahma Chitroda as before the land transformation it did not contain the minerals. The gold deposits came from my ancient kingdom of Antarctica that was built in gold. The climate changed and ice glaciers covered the continent as the glaciers melted the gold flowed into the ocean and various tsunamis washed the gold up onto the Australian plains within the highlighted area. Brahma. Bhagwan Chitroda, Japan. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Chitroda Empire. The definition of this image is due to the Great Flood and Ice Age. Mountainous regions provided the underlying safety to protect the land during the floods when the sea levels rose. Japan was inhabited again during the last 3000 by Indian Hindu Khumbas as the land became arable. The previous kingdoms were located within my Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda Asia Triangle. Brahma. Bhagwan Chitroda, Antarctica. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Chitroda Empire. Antarctica was an active kingdom of Bhagwan Bali Chitroda. The current climate of the continent has changed during the Great Flood and will continue to change with the ice melt. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Antarctica has many original images similar to the face images of Bhagwan Kumbera Chitroda. The current shape of Antarctica resembles myself as a young boy as the course of the history was played with my Bhagwan Bali Chitroda Empire. The word Bali equals young boy and the I equals Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, myself, with regards to the modern world political map. Brahma. Bhagwan Chitroda, Brazil/Bolivia. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Kumbera Chitroda commanding the wild war hog. The image is arranged in the tropical rainforests of Brazil and Bolivia, South America. This Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is known as Maf Behor, the second type of Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda drawn using the Bhagwan Ketu Dev Chitroda field imaging technique. South America was colonized and conquered by the Indian Hindu Khumbas when only wildlife existed. The first human population arrived from India and were Indian Hindu Khumbas. Brahma. Bhagwan Chitroda, Bhagwanpura. The image on the right is of Bhagwanpura, the completion of the Bhagwan Chitroda Empire. This is located at the eye location of the Bhagwan Chitroda Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, Gujarat, India. Bhagwanpura is the typical town naming of all of my ancestral Bhagwan dynasties. The aspect of Pura is short for Puran, where a Katha story is made and distributed as the Itihas or history, and Pura also means complete. When all the governments in the world were made in 1947, this was the final celebration location where my father met with his other 12 Illuminati brothers that were all Indian Hindu Khumbas, and they celebrated the achievement together. The work put into planet Earth with its historical tracing makes myself the only Bhagwan as the correct owner of the universe and governments, a continuation of my family heritage and lineage along with promoting my own history through this lecture series. Brahma. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda. The real face of Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda, my ancestor. The colors have faded over time as the item is old, over 25,000 years old. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda moved to South America after the Kurukshetra was drawn. The Kurukshetra were plans of recreating the world after the great dams were broken to drain the water and stop the ice age from converting the entire planet into ice. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda has brown skin with dark brown eye color and black hair. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda lived in Dwarka, Gujarat, India. During the lifetime of Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda, he fought many wars, destroying everyone that opposed him, and created many poems and sayings that the Indian Hindu Gujarati Khumbas still use today. The wars were required as people had to be evacuated due to the great floods and stopping the ice age from taking over the entire planet. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda is remembered as one of the greatest Indian Hindu Khumbar Bhagwans that has ever graced the planet. Please note that there are notable Krishna or Krishna, they both from my family lineage. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda as shown is older than Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda that was born during my Narasingha Empire 5,000 years ago approximately and made the Krishna River. Brahma. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda K. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing myself as king. A title that can only be awarded to myself, ancestors and Yadav cousins, as my lineage is direct to Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda. The sign is part of my installation of symbol Ling Vajra that is part of my Bhagwan Indra drum Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda number 51 Itihas Vajra. As linking was already played before the Ice Age 25,000 years ago, it is not the same reference as king. Along this K-shape you will notice the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, images of my Itihas ancestors that have already played it during the correct timing using astrological timing. This is my own heritage and was completed in the 14th century by my ancestor Bhagwan Fateh Chitroda, the son of Bhagwan Sajjan Chitroda, and he was crowned the king. In a succession to my ancestors' titles of from Aing, Bing, King, Ding etc. to King. Linked to Zinga titles received in other counties and part of Om number 31 to Om number 36. Tibetan Vajra Prajapat. The king title ended in the 14th century. Hinduism and Buddhism continue the great conquering and achievements of the one true empire in the universe as a heritage and family lineage community empire. Therefore myself and the Khumbar Prajapati Hindus and native Buddhists have progressed to Linga as Lingeshwar. Brahma. Bhagwan Veera Chitroda Empire. The picture shows a Bhagwan Veera Chitroda era Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom ceremony held at the Sri Brahma Baidrakala Garodi Otala Mandir, Kantaka, India. You will notice a transitional headpiece as worn by Bhagwan Veera Chitroda and the ministers of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. This ceremony is to establish new Indian Hindu Khumbar governments and upgrades with have a ritual display. Only the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom descendants known as Bhuva or Panjuri can wear this mask and show the character including dancing of the Indian Hindu Khumbar achievements to the people of the community in the Swaroop of Veera. Brahma. Bhagwan Veera Chitroda Empire version 2. The Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda Empire migrated to South America and my ancestor during the dynasty was called Bhagwan Humayun Chitroda. The creation of humans or Manav. During his stay in South America, whilst the other parts of the world were flooded and recovering from the Ice Age, he decided to form the Maya Empire, known as the Mayan Empire. Bhagwan Humayun Chitroda decided to reform the government empire of Bhagwan Veera Chitroda due to all the migrations of people around the world to South America. You will notice the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda fighting a great war hog with a sword in his hand, displaying a Indian Hindu Kumbhar Vajra plus sign as a requirement. The Vajra or plus is the Indian Hindu Kumbhar government logo as created by Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda, installed commercially by Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda. The images reflect the sacrifice of the war hog to create the Bhagwan Veera Chitroda Empire to save the population from war hog attacks. Brahma. The evolution of the Bhagwan Veera Chitroda Empire. The course of successful government creation led to the further development of smaller Nishad communities that had no basic skills. Through this, independently, the Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom created many Panjuri Bhuva types of characters and roles as first symbolized by my own ancestors. As the waters and Ice Age started to come to an end, my Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom decided to visit many places, securing the planet's integrity once more. The expansion led from India and thereafter to all other places in the world. For example, ancient Egypt with my Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda Panjuri / Bhuva characters as shown in hieroglyphics, in North America as eagles, in Europe dressed with bear skin and other such Nishad or nomad communities. The Panjuri and Bhuva developed into various Shamit types over the years. All these separate communities were acknowledged and respected by the great Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom. Brahma. The evolution of the Bhagwan Veera Chitroda Empire. The course of successful government creation led to the further development of smaller Nishad communities that had no basic skills. Through this, independently, the Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom created many Panjuri Bhuva types of characters and roles as first symbolized by my own ancestors. As the waters and Ice Age started to come to an end, my Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom decided to visit many places, securing the planet's integrity once more. The expansion led from India and thereafter to all other places in the world. For example, ancient Egypt with my Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda Panjuri / Bhuva characters as shown in hieroglyphics, in North America as eagles, in Europe dressed with bear skin and other such Nishad or nomad communities. The Panjuri and Bhuva developed into various Shamit types over the years. All these separate communities were acknowledged and respected by the great Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom. Brahma. Bhagwan Badrakal Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Bhagwan Badrakal Chitroda. Bhagwan Badrakal Chitroda is the father dynasty of Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda. The time scale is 8,000 years ago. The Bhagwan Badrakal Chitroda Taratu name extension is Kheda, as he restarted the Bhagwan Ketu Dev Chitroda Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda on open land fields, recreating the second lot of Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda on top of the geological land carvings. You will notice the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Badrakal Chitroda with two huge majestic Indian Hindu Kumbhar broadswords. He was the greatest war god the planet has ever seen since after the Great Flood and Ice Age. Bhagwan Badrakal Chitroda was known to have killed, murdered and slaughtered all the people in the world that opposed him. He is seen and traced to every country in the world. The purpose was to install education and continue with human mind development with consciousness. The aim was to create a system that through speaking to yourself, the installed language structure of the said words tell the story of Itihas or history, where communication becomes in total harmony with speech, randomness and history. Brahma. Udayagiri Chitroda Caves. You will notice an image of Udayagiri Caves to the right. The Attar Codex of Udayagiri equals Attar of Chitroda Alpha Bhagwan Mountain. It is here where the start of the Bhagwan Bhadrakal Chitroda conquest of the world began 8,000 years ago. My ancestor created this cave and its attributes in celebration to creating governments on mountains around the world. You will notice that within the sculptures and murals the entire Attar installation was carved by my ancestor Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda. Brahma. Creation of the United Kingdom. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Veera Chitroda. This is the source point location where the creation of the United Kingdom took place from India Gujarat around 2000 years ago. The image clearly shows the proper Indian Hindu Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda indicating a war hog and the creation of government. It was my ancestor Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda that created the United Kingdom and has been recorded as Alfred the Great in the British royal monarchy family lineage 2nd century. Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda devised a system to move non-Indian Hindu Kumbhas in various loads of refugees, Nishadas and nomads to Britain to start populating and educating them with basic skills. The Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda Empire became known as the Bhagwan Godhra Chitroda Empire in Gujarat, India from the 3rd century to the 15th century. And the Indian Hindu Kumbhas were called Ju short for Gujarati Indian Hindu Kumbhar. Brahma. Bhagwan Godhra Chitroda. You will notice the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Godhra Chitroda with his dragon. Bhagwan Godhra Chitroda was known as Bhagwan Rahegod Chitroda during the first Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda Empire. During the first age my empire created and installed a saying or message from Bhagwan Om Chitroda into the world as Attar Codex that can be decoded and made into a record. So far only my father H. Bhagwanji Mepa Chitroda has heard the message as he fully decoded it. Brahma. Government at a title of ing. Every government must be aware of the international itihas and the corresponding Attar Codex to benchmark itself with other countries. This will enable them to figure out where they are in relation to the rest of the world in terms of where they are trapped in history and what they are celebrating and who they are really celebrating. The Attar Codex of the English language came before Latin and English and hence was further completed and installed by the Indian Hindu Kumbhar Kingdom. The English alphabet was established, introducing commercial education to the people. The set of the English alphabet was made in Attar Codex like all the other languages that exist or have existed, and my own ancestors were crowned the title of creation as they created it. For example, 2000 years ago the concept of the Bhagwan Vaman Chitroda script was created once again, and during its installation the letters A, B, C, D, E, F to Z were installed with the creation of government and the Attar Codex of ing with reference to the Bhagwan Indra Dev Chitroda government Attar. Hence the installations of Ing, Bing, King, Ding to Zing. This also included the title of king that has already been given to my ancestor. The title expired in the 17th century and the follow-up remained dormant in most countries as it's an Indian Hindu Kumbhar title only. The United Kingdom's town of Kingstown is the British Islands' continuation of the set to Ling. Today many people are brainwashed or confused with the promotion of the title of king as in reality has already been achieved. The Indian Hindu Kumbhar Attar installation of English has the Attar Codex of my English Om. 3 plus equals English Om equals Angwanish equals 1 Angshi. and is completed to the last letter of the English to English language with my title of Zing. The Zing title has already been completed by my father Bhagwanji Chitroda, and it is my title for my heritage completion of this particular series of planetary installations. As there is another language set to yet to complete in Satya Yug starting 2025. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. The Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom has respect for all living entities and therefore there is equality acknowledged. The following Atar Codex from Maim to Zing has a Katha Atar entry representation to females. The Atar Codex sequence of function P with titling of Q, R, S is a reference to the first ever official use of the titles in history starting with Queen in 2027 after the lunar eclipse creating the lunar moon to planet animation of Q via calculated mathematics. Q also equals Quan refers to her Yadav family heritage and lineage from my empires. The R and S are heritage family titles already obtained to complete the last set to award my mother with the title of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Royal Queen of Satya Yug. During this time until 2027 my mother refers to my Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda as the great chart of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda with town formations of my own name in Atar Codex. During her time in the UK she completed 2 sets of mathematical names of Katha and Atar as she is being installed with her functions. For example, using Khumbar Atar script her name is Pushpaben and also Pushpaben. Pushpaben is the correct Atar terminology with Pushpaben equals PUSP Ben meaning that she is showing the United States of America the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of her own motherly attributes within her own work sector that relate to astrophysics. Pushpaben is herself representing her Bharat Mata Swaroop located in Scotland and also means female mountains. She is a transition of age from Kalyug to Satya Yug encompassing all the work titles that are required as a job title with herself as a public representative to myself. She is a divine incarnation from Hindu and Buddhist history known as Yashodha number 22 from her own Yadav family inheritance as her last family rule was the Ming Empire Tibet, China. Hence the H is required in her name is a requirement in the new age to form a lotus order plus 90 degrees IBN is the indication of Scottish mountain region where her Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of Bharat Ma is located. You will notice Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Yashodha number 22 Bharat Ma holding the fire of illumination a sacred start to Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapati awakening process from Bhakti. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda function P. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. It is showing Bharat Mata. You will notice the image of P making the image. This is my own mother Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda retaking Royal Quan Republic. This is her entrance to the Royal Imperial world after Bhakti during the past 70 years. The Katha is called Yashoda number 22 with Atar light of illumination. To her previous kingdoms she is the official incarnation title of Yashoda number 22. Within the Royal Republic of China she has her Katha of Qing Empire at the Qin. My mother at Yadav family ruled several empires in China as is where the Atar of Qing turns into queen as proved in light to Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. With her own heritage of her own Yashoda empire. So it can be said that only the incarnations of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda continuing her own Hindu/Buddhist dharma has only ever become queen or can ever become queen. As the title is the Katha of her own previous kingdoms so for others the title doesn't exist. This is represented within the Atar Codex as function P pronounced as Pa. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Yashoda is the only one to have ever completed herself to Pamadmavati. Her royal name is Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. Sigma function small p3 to Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda function capital P3. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda function Q. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. You will notice that the image is showing her sitting on her throne holding a bouquet of flowers with a baby cot next to her representing myself Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. Upon further zooming into the flower bouquet, the image turns into Bhagwan Agni Dev Chitroda, and further zooming in turns the picture of Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda looking at ancient Chittaranjan or my ancient Indian Khumbar Hindu education school. With a Tarkotic scan Ryan. The Q shape drawn around the main image is a time lock release or Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Lunai Ma heritage of showing the completion of lunar eclipses animating to the Q shape and its completion in the 2nd of August 2027, as it begun in the 25th of October 2022. During the lunar eclipse time from start to finish I write the Katha and utter proof of Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Yashoda has completed 22 languages already in Britain and is showing her evidence written in English as translated from ancient English that my ancestor Bhagwan Agni Dev Chitroda created. As Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Yashoda number 1 created the Lunai Ma Mandirs and order it is her own incarnation and she is already function Q. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Chittaranjan. You would notice a zoom up on the previous image with a focus at the top of the land. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing in Ketu Dev style Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda looking at the clouds and noticing them made of images of Bhagwan Bhadrakal Chitroda my ancestor. You will also note see the town of Kenrayan equals Can Jan equals Can Jan equals C ear near Jan equals C ear Ran Jan plus Vviatarai. N equals C Hittaran January. You will notice on the next slide the two other elements that went into creating the English language, A and I, resulting to Bhagwan Agni Dev Chitroda with the addition of my scripture as the G creating the other installation of Agni, Anig, Angi, Ain, Aing, again. As it was Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda that created a division of people from India to travel around the world and teach people how to light and make fires that led to the creation of Mychulla and Solla empires. Brahma. Bhagwan Panjuri Anubis Chitroda. The pictures opposite shows my ancient kingdom of Vindalanda. You will notice a Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Ketu Dev image of Panjuri Anubis. Panjuri Anubis Chitroda was my ancient ancestor that conquered the UK 12,800 years ago during my Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda empire. Panjuri Anubis Chitroda was representing the kangaroo and wore a kangaroo mask before they were moved to Australia. Kangaroos are evolutionary dinosaurs forms of the velociraptor. Please note that Vindalanda was a twin city of my Dholavira kingdom located in Gujarat, India. Brahma. Bhagwan Panjuri hai Manubis Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Panjuri hai Manubis Chitroda. He is known as the source creator of the Manus race. Panjuri Manus Chitroda is part of the Hanuman Vis Panjuri that my Bhagwan Karan Chitroda empire created around 15,000 years ago. Please note that all Panjuri and artifacts also belong to myself and not the land due to discrimination and independence in 1947. Brahma. Bhagwan Bhel Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Panjuri Bhel Chitroda. The image is found in Northumberland National Park that was called Northumberland previously. The notation of the image and its positioning shows the start of my mother's PQRS revelation. Please note that done if the PQRS images are reversible or can be seen upside down with the same image noted as inverted exclamation mark. Please note that the term Anubis and Hermanubis have the name extension of Bais that are matched with the Indian Hindu Gujarati town names of Ness alongside Loch Ness. Together they produce the English word of business. As only my ancestors ever created businesses, it is my solemn right over the United Kingdom and the world to have the only valid business to represent the universe and everything included. Britain and its security teams watching myself are currently involved in a conspiracy against myself that made up false security reasons to deny myself of my COVID business of PPE with contracts achieved to the value of £5 billion. The matter is racist and gross misconduct of the British government as lodged and recorded with all paperwork. Brahma. Atar of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. The image of the right shows the atar of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. The Atar Codex is OVO. This Atar Codex has been functional for my past 8 family generations, even before my mother's material family, India or the world knew anything about myself, mother or father. You will notice the shape Q, P with symbol of equals 0. 0. It is a reflection symmetry of flower arrangements. Please note symbol \vertical bar / equals Trishul, weapon to eliminate enemies, and also 3 Trischool or Trishula, as my mother is also registered as HRH Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda in Germany and Prussia. The naming of the 2 areas of the Q and the P are reflection and part of Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Royal School of Botanical Sciences. The upgrade to the language system creates the Atar Codex of 0 \vertical bar / 0 equals 0 plus res school 0 equals Vajra Suniye Royal Om School Suniye. As the 0 cancel each other out, it becomes Royal Om School. The 0 \vertical bar / 0 also equals 0 0 V as played by my father HRH Bhagwanji Mipa Chitroda. The V turns into greater than and turns into 7. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Baroque. This Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda shows Bhagwati Queen Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda looking at a Staplia gigantiflower. The image is located in the Middle England region. Please notice the follow-up story of Angel or my ancestors' naming of the flower in Latin of Staplia giganti, representing my Lingeshwar title at Gia Islands, and my family history recording as Bhagwanji Chitroda the Barot. The Barot has been taken over by my mother Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda as Baroque. The reason for taking over as the Baroque is that my family lineage and history are already written on the planet and named in other towns, eliminating all that could have tried to corrupt my heritage, as I am the only real Chitroda family in existence. Please note that the term Baroque is the conclusion to the word Bha, another allegory just like Bharat Mata that make up the title of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. The indication of the heiress of the Kingdom of Middle England has taken place. You will notice on the next few slides pictures of the Stapler Gighatia with design motifs and the Cathedral of Magnustos located in the Shetland Islands that resembles the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of my 3+ home and the flower designs found that make up the Mountain Kingdom of Middle England. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Functionar. This Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Rose Kwan Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. She is standing towards the east holding one stem with 3 roses. The image is made from the sacred royal plus C that upon adding myself and my created atta codex becomes royal 3 plus Om. The rose quan is a atta function that creates her next title of royal. As it is part of heritage and symbolism as Royal Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. The Rose Quan members of a Yashoda number 22 empire can be traced to the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community and native 5th century traced Buddhists. Meaning, ICJBTCVL, India, China, Japan, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. The Chinye upgrade was manifested by myself as Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Santoshi Nama Motto Y. The function capital R has been created for Royal Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. And therefore only myself and my younger brother Prince Manoj Bhagwanji Chitroda and his wife and children can use the title of Royal. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda function S. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Satya Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. The third and final image can be seen with Satya Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda holding a bouquet of flowers with a ray as a hairpin, wearing the crown. The entire mountain region is made up of derelict ancient foundations that once before the Ice Age were citadels and kingdoms of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Yashoda number 10 part of her Pushpa Quan Rose Satyajag Royal Kingdom people. Brunswick from Barnoldswick with that a value of pronunciation Beernoswick to Brunswick. Please note that the Kumbharat Atta script is found in the rune language that is decoded into the Atta codex of Beernoswick to Barrelswick to Brunswick. You will notice the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 myself located at Haroldwick part of my history. As I'm Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 Haroldwick becomes I plus 90 degrees equals H leveling the island name to the Uttar match of Barrelswick. Creating the Katha of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda 3 plus our Old Brunswick the beginning of the Devo. Please note that all people that moved and settled in the London area of Islington before 1979 are part of the Middle England Mountain Kingdom as shown in the S shape. The football players are also not part of the heritage unless they met the Indian Hindu Khumbar conditions as the Arsenal public choose the players as employees of the club. Most of the kingdom people moved to the Islington London area from all around the world and became Arsenal Football Club supporters as their Uttar codex equals Gunners. Africans, Muslims, Sikh, Jewish or Jains including non-Khumbars and ethnic Christians Orthodox or non-Orthodox are not traceable to these ancient mountain kingdoms and are not part of the ancient Arsenal or Gunners heritage. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda Statue of Liberty. This is the Statue of Liberty. It was made in America from the completion of my ancestral atta. This statue represents the freedom and liberty of the people through understanding the great Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. It is represented by my mother Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda as part of her Bharat Ma Katha. You will notice that the statue is holding the light of illumination the same as the Bharat Ma Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda located in Scotland. The original Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of the Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda is found in the English Channel. It is located upon the Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 Uttar mathematics symbol of. The completion of my mother's education at the Smithsonian University concluded the prophecy of my showing of Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The funds accumulated to make the statue would have been raised from the wealth of Yashoda No. 21 Empire of Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda from her Yadav Vanshi heritage of India and East Asia, many who have settled in America before the American movement of independence. Brahma. Pushcharai. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda with a Pushcharai, also known as pushchair. The image is quite clear with myself Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda as the baby in the pushchair. The pushchair itself is shaped as a horse and is celebrated within Bhagwan Ramdev P. Chitroda Katha stories of the flying horse. The central location of the babies or my face hides another secret in the town of Ilam leading to my ancestor Bhagwan Gautam Buddha Chitroda. Brahma. Transition VIM Buddha 15. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Ilam. You will notice my V located on the neck of a dragon as part of my incarnation installation as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda No. 51. The town Ilam is part of my Khumbar Prajapati heritage that my ancestor wrote about my own prediction. The translations for Ilam translate to myself and my Atar Codex, 1 X, with direct Khumbar Atar script translation in the Tibetan language. For example, I can say that I am any name of my ancestors and have the Atar Codex to find the Katha. E.g. I am Ram, I am Krishna, I am Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda etc. in accordance to only my own heritage. The scripture decoding from Arabic to Tibetan via Indian Hindu Gujarati Khumbar command language decodes the missing story of how the colonial pirates were destroyed in Asia, and is the decoded Hindu Quran as part of my current Mangal Ram manifestation, and is continued as the old to modern continued Katha of the Ramayana in many countries. Brahma. Bhagwan Bhel Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Panjuri Bhel Chitroda. The image is found in Northumberland National Park that was called Nordkumbaland previously. The notation of the image and its positioning shows the start of my mother's PQRS revelation. Please note that done if the PQRS images are reversible or can be seen upside down with the same image noted as inverted exclamation mark. Please note that the term Anubis and Hermanubis have the name extension of Bais that are matched with the Indian Hindu Gujarati town names of Ness alongside Loch Ness. Together they produce the English word of business. As only my ancestors ever created businesses, it is my solemn right over the United Kingdom and the world to have the only valid business to represent the universe and everything included. Britain and its security teams watching myself are currently involved in a conspiracy against myself that made up false security reasons to deny myself of my COVID business of PPE with contracts achieved to the value of £5 billion. The matter is racist and gross misconduct of the British government as lodged and recorded with all paperwork. Brahma. Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. You will notice in south of England at plus 90 degrees the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. You will notice Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda standing on top of a lotus throne holding my Brahmastra Naushantara Indra Shakti. The Kumbharat Chitra represents Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda, Royal Queen of Satyayug. The Atar Codex used for her title is PQRS, as this is her upgrade from her previous Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing her as Bharat Mata, to making her Bhagwati, as she had already completed her imperial seva to the public before the closing of Kalyug. Q&S are part of her own 22 Yadav installations of her real incarnation of Yashoda from 1 to 22. creating her Itiyaz Atar and C that are summarized as additional empire functions of my empire function Q and function S. You will notice a Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda by her feet of myself during Tapasya from 2012 to 2025. Brahma Government at a title of Princess and Princess. The same applies to the title of Prince or Princess, as they are titles that can be awarded to my family members as only. The Atar Codex of Prince equals vertical bar P vertical bar Royal India Chitroda Om equals Pushpaben Bhagwanji Royal Chitroda India Om equals Royal India Om Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda equals Royal Om of India Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. Princess equals vertical bar P vertical bar Royal India Chitroda Om Swastik equals Pushpaben Bhagwanji Royal India Chitroda Om Swastik equals Royal Om of India Swastik Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. In both cases of Atar Codex, the only real prince or princess titles are for myself and my brother and sister, and other people are just a fantasy star without any proper or real powers or rights, as they are not part of the true heritage that created the world and therefore do not deserve the rights of prince or princess title. The princess loses her title after marriage due to changing her surname to her husband's name. The prince naturally proceeds to the title of the correct Atar Codex played in the international community currently living. The children of the prince also carry the titles until they marry if they are female. The number of 25 is significant as it relates to the swastik and the Om kingdom number, with representation of my Bhagwan Om Chitroda kingdom and my direct Yadav family's input and governance of it. It has nothing to do with the relations or cousins of my direct Yadav families, as they are not part of the royal heritage or hierarchy, as it was dependent on the royal predicted Yadav daughter marrying my father Bhagwanji Mipa Chitroda and giving birth to the princes and princess of the dynasty. The 25th kingdom Om was completed during the 14th century and is known as part of the Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda family triangle, joining Chitrods to Japan to Indonesia, known as the Hindu Khumbar Prajapati Mahajapahit Empire. And this is the area from where life started or arrived on the planet. Brahma. The British Royal History of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Indra Drum the 51st. The heritage and royal dynasty of the United Kingdom, as noted by independents, to what the people of the United Kingdom could remember, are false compositions of people that have nothing to do with the official lineage and heritage of the United Kingdom and how it was made with all the wealth it accumulated. The entire history of the United Kingdom from evidence starts from the 2nd century with Alfred the Great and continues through myself as heir to the United Kingdom with proper evidence and history. The United Kingdom was a vast muddy forest land with waters draining from the Ice Age. And during that time the land was made clear to establish regions and then provinces or counties. During the making of these areas, various Atar Codex were installed with my own ancestor as the Emperor of the United Kingdom. The installation Atar Codex has somewhat presented itself with a deity image of my own ancestors that also ruled Europe as part of my empire and are lodged as the royal family of Europe with official tracing. Please be aware that this is official royal and doesn't belong to the Christians or church system, as they are still locked into practicing 17th century Christianity that is not part of the evolution of the Atar and remains as fixed private system of belief like a TV serial watched over again. Christians, however, are in a state of evolution where they too much acknowledge the universal truth of each language, with the Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati language as the most dominant occurring in global languages. The Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati language around 300 years into the future, as it is made according to local Atar sector, leaving the Christian evolution to catch up from the 1400s to now around 600 years, or in language terms from 1400 to 2300, a catch up of 900 years. This means that the indicator that Christians have evolved are Christians leaving the Christian religion and joining the Hindu religion, culture and practice of physical ritual. Hinduism has achieved its goal and succession in the universe, and it is not possible for other religions and their people to ever catch up with it, as they will not belong to their own non-Indian Hindu religion if they try to do so. This is why my created Atta Codex itself is the only witness required, so all Indian Hindu Kumbhas are self-righteous and valid on the internet and outside of the virtual world, fusing both together as an identity and complete use of the internet. The title of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Indra Drum the 51st is also mine, and other people, even Hindus, cannot have it, just like Indra Drum, as it is forged with my own name Atta in the Highlands of Scotland. Brahma. The British Royal History of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Prajapati Indra Drum the 51st. The same occurs within the European royal heritage and lineages as recorded by the country people itself. The rise of my kingdom of Europe occurred in several European countries, with my own ancestors as the royals that made the entire continent with their own wealth, hence the tribute to my family as the creators and owners of Europe, even into creating and funding the governments. The heritage of mainland Europe is based on the attributes like other countries on the evidence found, for example my Atta Codex and my Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. My own lineage's greatest creations are the governments and the religion network in Europe, where I am the only the inheritor due to the evidence presented through my own creation, though it is linked with my own direct family lineage as the oldest and most celebrated in the known universe. The European royal heritage is broken up into two different regions: the Christians located in central, Geneva, Shiva, and north of that point, and the Catholics located in central and south, Mediterranean Sea area. The break happened around the 9th century to further continue the installations of my royal dynasty and Atta to other continents as they were part of the kingdom. The Mediterranean Sea countries started the import and export of South American people that were never documented and became known as Jewish people. None of the Jewish people have any claim to any type of imperial or royal heritage, as in the 2nd century my ancestor Alfred the Great of England, also known as Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda, decided to go to South America and move the rich Khumbar Prajapati rulers and government people etc. to India, leaving the South American citizens to create their own democracy that later failed, with the returning trained and educated South Americans from Europe to enslave the South Americans until my great-grandfather Zina army decided to fund the independence wars. The Mediterranean Sea area is full of people that were locked into harming themselves based on a lack of governance, education and having no or limited belief in God. The Katha title of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Prajapati Indra Drum the 51st is my own and not even for Prajapati community members, as they do not have the same history or family lineage as myself or my family.
Brahma. Chakravarti Prajapati Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. My own title within the royal heritage of Europe is Chakravarti Prajapati Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The title is made from my own ancestral heritage and the installations in countries that were names of my Atta. The title itself refers to my sovereignty over the entire continent of Europe and is greater and larger than king. As the explanations rise to the Indian Hindu Kumbhar government identification of myself as Prajapati through my own Indian Hindu caste and my great-grandfather's title as the only Prajapati of Saurashtra and Scandinavia, where my own Atta Codex can be found as town, city and village names. The term of Chakravarti is derived from its starting in the 2nd century when tea farms were made all around the world and the product of tea was sold to Asia and Europe. The business itself was called cha, that is known to Indian Gujarati Kumbhars as tea and other Hindus as chai equals cha of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The kra is the important part of the route and places of the business schematics that lead to the creation of the government and society. CRA equals pi blueprints equals G blueprints equals the blueprints of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda and Fadi equals Vada equals the owner of all pre-1850 religious buildings throughout the world right up to ancient ruins found in the world Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The term Fadi includes temples and cities, even the Egyptian pyramids and undiscovered buildings around the universe. The term Chakravarti together as a word equals the owner of the entire government and businesses that has been established since the start of time. There are no such links to myself with other royals anywhere on the planet through any such lineage, heritage or family relationships. To achieve this showing to Europe, my ancestors created 36 languages that were created in reference to Bhagwan Chitroda to provide a complete summary of history with 30 kingdoms.
Brahma. The European royal lineage decoded. As previously explained, the entire structure of the history and heritage that Europe prides itself with in comparison to non-Europeans is in fact a lie, along with the racism and stress that the world was putting onto myself, as none of the non-Indian Hindus or Hindus are worth any of my history, as they had no contribution to making of any of my kingdoms. This is because everyone was hired with a salary and therefore are not part of my creation of the world in respect to my ancestors. Even the fake setup of Indians cannot belong to my royal and imperial heritage, along with other Chitroda family that were trying to substitute themselves into my life and heritage within bogus spy networks that watch them. Therefore I alone command my own heritage and I am the only benefactor of my own lineage. I can confirm that the Rajput caste is also not related to myself through any royal or imperial marriages or family connection, and have no claim of royal or imperial inheritance anywhere on the planet. The British still know them as Rajasthani committee puppets with fake made-up rights of my own ancestral inheritances. The Indian population already realized this fact when the Rajputs did not defend India against the colonials by public demand, as they were too busy trying to obtain my assets and properties and selling my antiquities to Europeans despite objections from the Indian Hindus and Buddhists. Many Islamic and Muslims items were also sold off, meaning they could not ever have access to the past, present or future of Islamic evidence, as their symbolism was diminished by Victorian groups using poor poverty Muslims to destroy their own collectibles and statues of their Quran-written prophets. The same occurred to Christian, Catholic and Jewish prophets or messengers. Whereas the Indian Hindus saved their own cultural idols of identity. This has resulted as a curse onto the non-idol worshipping religions and will last as long as they do, as it cannot be redeemed. The Rajputs have nothing to do with Europe and have no such inheritance. The main reason for the Europeans to steal things from Asian countries was to make and create their business monarchy and lie to the public. The European World War is when many of the innocent people died, and the European colonial business people tried to position themselves with the stolen colonial paintings and items, brainwashing the public into false respect, creating the lesser-minded public to create illegal restraints onto people and civilians to earn money and live lifestyles that they do not deserve. My ancestors in Europe are known as Roderick, Frederick, James, Charles, Joseph, and there are others that follow the same utter installation and are noted as royals of Europe. I or my family are not related to any of the current royals' occupation of my monarchies, and they are part of the same bogus pirate colonial network. Brahma. My British royal heritage explained. My history in the United Kingdom dates back further in history than the 2nd century, recorded to my ancestor Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda, that is recorded in 3 separate places, one with the custodians of my direct lineage, the Royal Mewari, then Ghiya Barot of Gujarat, India, and separately by South Indian Hindu Khumbar Tamils. This history is 8,000 years old with all the correct names of my own ancestors and lineage. The Rajputs are only 1850 onwards made and were also trying to act like family ancestors without any sort of connection or relationship to myself, family or Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. The names of my ancestors that occur in the Royal British Monarchy are my own ancestors with a direct lineage to myself that are other installation and creations of towns, cities and villages as funded by my empire and ruling of the United Kingdom. Britain was first land and not habitable, so my family kept on chopping the first land to install and make more towns, cities and villages in the names of my Attar Codex and family heritage. The requirements to populate the towns with people also occurred, and therefore the migrations to Britain started. Most of these people that were moved to the United Kingdom were all nishads, tribals, refugees or nomads that were not part of any kind of civilized culture community or understood any type of living standards and had no heritage or lineage to anywhere. The migrations took place in the 2nd, 9th, 14th, and 19th century. The 2nd century migrants were shifted to South Africa and Australia with dignity as part of my Cumbrian heritage kingdom, leaving the 14th century onwards to migrate nishads, nomads, pirates, tribals and others low castes to populate the British island. Brahma. What is sovereign or sovereignty? There are many people that are confused with the words sovereign or sovereignty. The meaning of sovereignty or sovereign refers to myself as the owner of the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, and is a valid Indian Hindu Khumbar entity cross-reference to my ancient Indian Hindu Khumbar mandirs, temples and churches all around the world. This heritage of mine is celebrated with coins, rings, jewelry, various religious images often mounted in gold or stained glass windows on religious buildings with my ancestors as the Hindu Khumbar royal deities translating to various Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda images with a calculated Attar name. This means that I am the sovereign with my own mother, Her Royal Highness Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda, representing the mother aspects of my sovereignty such as the great Bharat Mata Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. Therefore my direct family members are sovereign and belong to sovereignty. Another factor of the word sovereign or sovereignty eliminates any kind of teaching title, therefore becoming Bhagwan Brihaspati Chitroda as it declares my imperial title as greater than any teacher or guru, as these titles along with other language comparisons cannot achieve my own history, heritage, lineage and creation anywhere in the known or unknown universe. Brahma. Bharat Mata Chitroda Attar. This is the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Her Royal Highness Bhagwati Pushpaben Chitroda in the Scottish Highlands. These series of Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda refer to the mother of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, myself. They fully represented by my mother as part of the ancient history and the time cycle of the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. Therefore Her Royal Highness Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda is the real Bharat Mata and a real sovereign. Within India, the position of my mother, Her Royal Highness Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda, is celebrated as Har Siddhi Mataji in many Hindu mandirs as the complete incarnation of all my ancestral mothers, and to systematically own the Bharat Mata Attar and her Kumbharat Chitras forever as her own gift from myself, father His Royal Highness Bhagwanji Mepa Chitroda and grandfather His Royal Highness Bhagwan Mepa Natha Chitroda. The next sides show images of her holding Brahmastra, sitting on her throne and holding myself as a baby. Brahma. Understanding my royal heritage and lineage of Britain. The first understanding of my decoded heritage within the United Kingdom is a very simple Attar decryption. When my ancestor Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda arrived to the UK during the 2nd century, much of the United Kingdom was forest and was not built. The mission then was to start building a kingdom. Various provinces were made and within those provinces different Attar were installed. The town names were made in accordance to the created authority of my ancestor Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda from 8000 years ago using GPS or YOI coordinates, and Bhagwan Prajapati Chitroda previous to that. The structure of the commercial layout of my British royal lineage or family tree resembles names within a hierarchy starting from Alfred the Great and continues to myself within a straight path. There are various series of names that are in actual fact not names or people but at a codex such as Edward that are installed in several areas in Britain and noted from I to 7. The same is also with Henry, Richard, James, Charles etc. There are also several paintings of my ancestors also archived within the British National Archives that all have brown eye color, pale or light brown skin and dark hair color, as Indian Hindu Khumbas all have these configurations as sovereign and Royal Imperials. Many of the painting are not in the order or have been tampered with by the Nazi with the introduction of white spirit alcohol solvents to change eye colors on paintings as a racist agenda. Brahma, Victoria and Ludba, Ladba the Ladwa. In the 19th century, Victoria was celebrated in the United Kingdom for becoming part of my great-grandfather's fraternity similar to the United Nations or NATO today, a company system not a kingdom or ruling. As there was only one ruler and acknowledged globally, my great-grandfather Bhagwan Natha Chitroda King Yoivi, during the lifetime of Victoria she had never visited India, though the British people were employed by the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom to make roads and install train tracks and even telegraph poles and lines. As a note to the good work they were doing and the fair and just salary they were receiving, Shriman Haraji Ladwa, member of my great-grandfather's Khumbara fraternity, the Shri Sorathia Prajapati community, and my mother's eldest brother's daughter's husband's great-grandfather, was appointed the task of educating Victoria on the history of India in relation to how my ancestor created the Urdu language and the symmetry. The allegory was played and spent in making Gandhi and ended in 1947. Shriman Haraji Ladwa entered Victoria's palace greater than anyone, including Victoria herself, known as Ludba, and bypassed all of her staff and Prime Minister, as Shriman Haraji Ladwa was the messenger of God himself to Victoria, and the British could have all got fired from their work positions in India as India started contracting other workers. Shriman Haraji Ladwa reminded Victoria of the real owner of the castles and palaces in the Britain, as he was the ancestor of the cement manufacturers known as Ladwa. He taught the history and Mayatar Codex directly to Victoria, and the Shriman Haraji Ladwa became the Munshi. Munshi was the only direct membership that Victoria or Britain could ever belong to from the Yadwas princesses fraternity known as Quon. The fraternity arranges the marriage to the greatest Bhagwan to ever live, Bhagwanji Mepaji Chitroda II, and so the Munshi allegory was created based on the Korean princess's membership to the Quon, creating the allegory of my mother HRH Bhagwati Pushpaben Bhagwanji Chitroda. Upon the successfully teaching Victoria Hindu Khumbar etiquette, she was invited to my great-grandfather's coronation in India, where he became Maharana Adiraj Prithvi Raj Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj III, O.M. Lakshmi Narayan King Yoivi Bhagwan Nathaji Chitroda. Victoria learnt how the Holy Church of England and the sovereign bloodline of England belongs to my great-grandfather and to be inherited by myself. The name Victoria is a title that relates to my Atar Codex and celebrates myself as the victorious Bhagwan or God. Shrimanacharya Haraji Ladwa was the commander of Victoria and was not recruited as a worker, aide or slave. And on several occasions Victoria had to touch his feet, as it was customary as part of Hindu tradition. In some cases, as she was shown the truth of God, she even kissed the feet of Shriman Acharya Haraji Ladwa, that is shown in the Reversal Atar Codex of the mainstream film production. Brahma. The time period of correction. The time period that history is not so much remembered or understood is from the 14th century to its tracing to myself. During this time within England there were many trips and voyages that were started as part of a movement to continue the Atar. My ancestor King James I started the migration from South America to populate Asia. These missions were completed in the 17th century by my ancestor King Charles I, with him writing the King James Bible. The translations of Atara are mentioned in the Gutenberg Bible, written in celebration to the completion of ink to king and my great-grandfather's crowning in the 18th century of Khumbar Sri Sorathia Prajapati, completing King to Zing. The chapter of King ended in the 18th century, where the summaries of Atar, Elijah and Iyaz were just a few of his recognized names amongst the migrants and refugees he was helping. A summary of sea voyages and land migrations. It is during this time that 4 new religions were created by my ancestor: Islam, Christianity, chapter Catholicism, Quan, and monastery Buddhism. Prajapati order all started to collect and start to administer their own manuscripts and find the correct Atar codex to create a chronological installation based on language using symbols and numbers. With the history of these people having understanding of their origins in time, identity was given to masses or mainstream populations of practitioners of the religion's allocation, surnames given to them upon the arrival to the land or community. The point of myself as Shriman Archaya represents myself telling my own history and itihas, abbreviated as SA for Satyaya Yugamangal. Please note that within the Atar naming of Gutenberg equals government Atar ++ OM Ram Khumbar. Berg equals Khumbar. The Berg name is found surnames of people as they were named by my ancestors to give identity to the refugees and migrants that were moved to Central Northern Europe in the 17th century. The title of my great-grandfather Bhagwanji Chitroda became Sri Sorathia Prajapati. Please note that Sri Sorathia Prajapati is my Royal Imperial title inherited from my real ancestry and has nothing to do with the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community, as they are playing a different chapter of Sri Bai Ma. Brahma. Explanation to the Guy Fawkes mystery. The history of the United Kingdom is covered by folklores that have expanded into a corrupt story that doesn't match the history globally. From the 2nd century there are various names of people stated in the royal lineage and heritage of Britain that are at a codex of my own ancestors as the rulers of the United Kingdom. For example, Alfred, Edward, John, Charles, James, Richard, George, Henry etc. are pre-colonialism kingdom upgrade Kathas of my ancestral dynasty in the United Kingdom. They can all be decoded as functions of installations in creating a country. Guy Fawkes or Guido was actually King James, and he lived in Westminster Cathedral itself as it was his real home. The gunpowder plot is not real, as gunpowder refers to South American tea that is consumed in dry pellets. The stories of Guy Fawkes has the Atar Codex of Guy equals Guy, translating to cows, and part of an ancient katha based on my royal history. The Guy Fawkes decided to start an import-tr adding a business from Britain to South America, and this is where the British history confusion started, as he spent much time in the Southern Hemisphere Empire and Asia. During this time his family heritage in Europe was turned into the holy titles in books such as Angel, God, King, Lord, Father, Son, as reports would have come back to the existing headquarters as holy books of successful missions. The United Kingdom has had many historical immigrations since the 2nd century, all order to migrate to traceable Atar-defined towns in the UK. The population of the planet went out of control during after 1736 to 1947, as anarchy existed pre-government installations when ancestors went to abide by the Indian Hindu Khumbar time chakra of righteousness and community. And so various people tried to install fake representations of themselves into society as royals when they are just small or borrowed money businesses people, and therefore they appear like fakes with no connection to my heritage or royal imperial status. A classical story of the true emperor on official business and the evil people trying to replace myself. Also classically, my own history with evidence is too great to be ignored, as it is the composition of many thousands of years' work crushing my enemies forever, a tale of good versus bad, where bad doesn't even deserve a chance due to the greatnesses of my own international family history. Brahma. My hidden at a Codex of Westminster. The image opposite shows the interior of Westminster Cathedral. When the cathedral was made, my Attar Codex was also installed. The Attar Codex of Symmetry was installed in respect to Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda, as it was funded and built by my ancestors. On the next slide you will notice the symmetry pictures of Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda sitting cross-legged with his scriptures. The other images are of Bhagwan Hanuman Chitroda and the representation of Parvati, the head of the G, red triangle. I equals Guy from Majestic Holy Bull to Guy Fawkes, King James. The 360 degrees seeing Ulluka or owl in tribute to myself as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda, number 51 of Attar Drumnet Rocket, Scotland. Please note that the Attar Codex of Ulluka equals Attar of Bhagwan Indra Dev Chitroda installation J, red triangle, the Hanuman of Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda. Hanuman equals my tapasya from 2012 to 2025. Another fact is that during tapasya I obtain a small drum called Dhumru in relation to my title of Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 as my family forefathers that have previously celebrated. Older buildings have the same Attar Codex of Symmetry installed all the way back in time to the first age of my forefather Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 1. Therefore, there are 51 buildings located in the United Kingdom of my Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda Katha. Brahma. The cow's head G, red triangle, I. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing G, red triangle, I. It was Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda that first installed the G, red triangle, I processes into government that taught dairy farming and vegetarianism. Indian Hindu Kumbhas also celebrate the cow's heads as part of my Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, and in this age is completion of my G, red triangle, I Samaj. This is the G, red triangle, I to Guy at a Codex Katha of Guy Fawkes, the praname of the Katha played by my ancestor King James I. The symbolism of the cow's head even appears as an Attar Codex Symmetry within Westminster. The entire Kumbharat Chitra on the next page can be rotated in 8 directions to produce the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Attak hit animals. Brahma. End of the king, start of the ling. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Lingeshwar. You will notice my ancestor Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda using his Divya Drishti to envision the future whilst performing the Indian Hindu Kumbhar kingdom rituals on the Shivling. This image was made around 8,000 years ago using my ancestor Bhagwan Ketu Dev Chitroda Chitra technique. The location of this Kumbharat Chitra is found on the Isle of Gigai in the United Kingdom, located in the direction of -90 degrees from north. This is part of my own Bhagwan Indra Dev Chitroda installation as part of myself as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51. Eternally I have installed and made the United Kingdom 51 times already in history, making myself the sovereign and continued emperor and Bhagwan of the United Kingdom indefinitely forever. Brahma. Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda Indra Jaya number 1. You will notice the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Indra Jaya number 1, myself, in Malaya. Part of the Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda 108 series Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Lingeshwar Mantra. The Kumbharat Chitra is exactly the same as found on Gia Island, United Kingdom. Set number 1 of Indrajaya has already been played at all 108 locations. We are currently on set number 51 Indra Drum. The image clearly shows myself as Indrajaya number 51 praying to the Shivling, installing an Atar Codex mantra within the region. This allegory was completed by myself with my own Indian Hindu Khumbar rituals as to recognize the true religion and faith of the planet and universe. It gave myself the title of Atar Codex Indrajaya to Sri Vijaya. The mantra Atar Codex has a published mantra scripture telling the arti of myself with words for each same Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Atar Indradev. For example, Indrajaya equals Jaya word number 1, then Indra Drum equals Drum word number 51. And so on until the 108 Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda Atar of Bhagwan Indradev Chitroda is complete. Therefore, reaching the title of Sri Vijaya, as my ancestors have already visited the places and performed the Indian Hindu Khumbar rituals and created this codex for myself. This Khumbarat Chitra represents a Bhagwan Ram Chitroda calculating the rise of the oceans, and so that the samundar or ocean cannot get in the way of my showing of my Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The story also relates to my ancestor Bhagwan Kuber Chitroda treasury creation and lifestyle of ultra-luxury by Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda. Atar Codex equals 1H to 1 and 210 with Katha ka noting the Lajka, Lanka, Loka history, proving that the Ravan engineers were not the rulers or owners of Lanka. Brahma. Bhagwan Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Mahadev Lingeshwar. You will notice the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing in Bhagwan Ketu Dev Chitroda format Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Mahadev Lingeshwar. This is the completion of the evidence of all myself as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 and giving myself the Sri Vijaya title. This is part of my Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 series and Katha, the finding of the Shivlings. Pra 13's function P Atar Ram. The town names that surround the area are my Atar Codex evidence of my entire claim to my title of Ling as the Lingeshwar of Mahadev. This title can only be achieved by myself during Tapasya 2012 to 2025 as it was created by my ancestors for myself. Brahma. Fake King George and the real RGGO, Yoi 1 to 8. My ancestor King Yoi IV, also known as King James I, and wrote various religious scriptures including upgrading his ancestors' previous notes that turned into the King James Bible. And thus the next kingdom named him as King Charles I. The Atar Codex evolved and was hidden within the sayings of my ancestors' published Bibles. For example, the term eye for an eye equals eye for eye equals ii. A Indian Hindu Khumbar notation of my ancestor Bhagwan Ananda Chitroda King Yoi and his installed function within completing his ancestors' previous King James Bible and creating the published new Bible known as the Old Testament. The title of George equals Geo for Geo coordinates and Rege for Royal Government of and therefore it is not a name and cannot be represented by anyone apart from myself as King Yoi VIII and Goga Maharaj belonging to the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom family dynasty and legacy by birthright. As the real Atar Codex title is RGGO and is part of Regina equals Regina, where the Royal Government INA equals Indian National Army that were part of Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda known as Alfred the Great's army. Brahma. Bhagwan Vera Chitroda Yok. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Vera Chitroda Yog. The image clearly looks like a raging war hog with a crown. The entire mountain hill range is carved in the shape of the Bhagwanji Chitroda deity. Yorkshire is part of colonial India after the Great Ice Age. The entire mountain or hill range was conquered by Indian Hindu Khumbar army as it was abandoned during the Ice Age from the previous Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. Brahma Bhagwanji Chitroda York Citadel. This is my ancient citadel located at the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwanji Chitroda York. The citadel is located at the eye of the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda image of the war hog. You can visually see the shape of it carved into the hilltop of the Yorkshire Mountains, looking similar to a casket shape. My father H.R.H. Bhagwanji Chitroda had many businesses around the world that he closed and with his Indian Hindu Khumbar Illuminati set some people up to open a company called Casket and Partners that made Royal Guard and Imperial Guard suits for Buckingham Palace. H.R.H. Bhagwanji Chitroda managed to secretly employ himself in the company without the owners knowing that he was the chairman Illuminati and is heir of the United Kingdom and Great Britain. Its distance to Chitrod is 4,202 miles implying the Uttar Codex of 4,202 equals Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati 4, Yoy. Brahma Bhagwanji Chitroda Cemetery. The distance to Chitrod is 4,202 miles from my residence in the UK. The 4 has the same shape as the Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati 4, however it is presented in a different angle. Upon rotating the 4 by 220 degrees it becomes the Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati number 4. The same as the 100th distance rearranged from 202 to 220 to form the 1/8 or the equator from the UK to Chitrod. Upon using a clock face with 1 to 12 with the world map upside down, the direction of Chitrods to the eye of the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda York is also 4, tracing the original point of kingdom expansion to York in the ancient times. 4,202 equals 4, Yoy equals 4 Juj, meaning that York post-Ice Age was inhabited in the year 414 with the procession of Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda. In the year 1414 the A414 dual carriageway road started construction by the same families that arrived in York during year 414. These families were all Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapatin. They moved back to India when the work commenced. The A414 dual carriageway and towns along its route also have a codex of history installed by the people that was funded by my ancestor. The start of the A414 is Malden and was a shipping port with towns along its routes trading the goods all the way to Hemel Hempstead. The work done in making the A414 and its celebration is entirely the work of my Indian Hindu Khumbas as funded by my ancestors. The atar installed in the town naming was made by my ancestor. There should be no misconception as people in those days were not very intelligent and did not have any common sense. And therefore my ancestors were the emperors and also created the Atar Codex installations as it is a fixed set of codex right from the beginning of civilization. Brahma Bhagwanji Chitroda VSI. The Bhagwanji Chitroda York Citadel clearly shows the foundation structure of VSI. The Atar Codex is character 4, 220 degrees, creating Atar Codex as 220 in relation to JJO using the formula the 220, JJO the VSI equals Vis. Vis equals 20 in the Indian Hindu Gujarati Khumbar language. The angle and direction of the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Bhagwanji Chitroda York with the correct map direction is 120 degrees. Thus creating the Atar Codex of 120 degrees equals Ekvis, meaning 1, 20 and the summary of 21 in the Indian Hindu Khumbar language. The 21 switched upside down equals 51. The image can be rotated in the form of VSI equals ISV, and dating it further back in history creates red triangle 51 in Atta with the Atta Codex of JJO. Red triangle 51 has several Atta extensions that lead it up to the Atta Codex sacred numbers. 51 equals 2601 equals 2601 divided by 3 equals 867 miles. Part of the kingdom circumference as regionalized to Scandinavia. Maishri Sorathia Prajapati Khumbar Empire of Europe from the year 414. 867 is a Atta Codex for circumferences in miles, where it is the number 7, 8 and 6 rearranged to create the perimeter of the empire in equidistant measurements. There are two kingdoms of Maishri Sorathia Prajapati Khumbar Empire, one with the central point of Chitroda, India, and the other at the VSI point in the UK, York, with perimeter 867 miles. My ancestor Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda ruled both kingdom empires. Brahma. Bhagwan Indra Drum Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Char. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Char. Since the Ice Age and the Great Flood, this part of the United Kingdom has been flooded. The image underneath the ocean is still visible by satellite. The correct Atta Codex equals Char plus 45 degrees, or this particular picture with the name of the Katha that symbolizes its history. Katha of Bhagwan Indra Drum Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda number 51. Please note that Indra Drum is pronounced as Indra Drum. Brahma. Bhagwan Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda L plus Char plus 45 degrees, Om Swastik. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing the Atta Codex Portcullis Anshwan Char Katha, Satya to Satya. This has been played by myself as part of my ancestor Bhagwanji Devji Chitroda, King James, to myself Bhagwan Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The Atta Codex represents work during my youth in representing and completing the symbolism of my ancestral heritage. The Atta Codex provides the equation of E equals L plus Char plus 45 degrees, Om Swastik equals L plus Char plus 45 degrees, E plus S equals. There are now 3 plus English Om referent to Indian Hindu Khumbar Kingdom, equals L carries equals Char less. Please note that is my heritage of my own ancestor King James, creating the return equity of my ancestor King Charles I and myself as Bhagwan Indra Drum Chitroda number 51 Katha. Brahma. Bhagwan Shri Krishna Chitroda. You will notice a picture of Bhagwan Shri Krishna Chitroda with the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda around the Yorkshire region of the United Kingdom. There is much symbolism to dairy farming. Dairy farming was the most important part of any kingdom above other methods, as it provided a host of foods that the public could eat and make into things like energy. There is a Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Shri Krishna Chitroda standing in front of the cow defined as J, red triangle. I'm making it the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda standing in front of the cow. The Khumbarat Chitra is located over Nottingham as the topmost part of his crown, with the map of the UK upside down. Brahma. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda Wales Empire. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda Wales Empire. You will notice that the main Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda within the box shows Bhagwan Shri Krishna Chitroda standing in front of his cow, classical Indian Hindu Khumbar Empire Chabi. This Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of Bhagwan Shri Krishna Chitroda as Pipleshwar Maharaj is also in reverse symmetry and shows a Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda in Europe. This is a significant process in government creation as this Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda deity represents Bhagwan Pipleshwar Chitroda. Bhagwan Pipeshwar Chitroda represents through his education the botanical and earth sciences emperor. As it was a global empire of all life databased and lodged as at a Bhagwan Pipleshwar Chitroda was also known as the Pied Piper and he had a military senate of chariots known called rats. The current stories of the Pied Piper are not true or correct as the story materialized from myths from ancient scriptures. Brahma. Bhagwan Jivada Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Bhagwan Jivada Chitroda. This is the origination place of where my ancestor Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda dynasty empire started to recreate Britain again and inhabited Wales. This Kumbharat Chitra shows the exact Kumbharat Chitra in Wales United Kingdom. The images of Bhagwan Maharana Pipleshwar Chitroda representing his at a codex of Jivadiya equals Jivadiya and the Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapati creation of Indian Hindu Shri Sorathia Prajapati Khumbar names with the name extensions Bharadva or Ladva the only two in part of the creation of my great grandfather the Saurashtra Prajapati Khumbar Bhagwan Nata Chitroda King Yoivi with also remaining crowning with the Maharaja Mahaditya Raj Mahaprithvi Raj Lakshmi Narayan title in Rajasthan and Nepal. The naming of the Bharadva and Ladva place during my Bhagwan Vikramaditya Chitroda empire and are derived from Bharad and Bhadar the bulls. The Khumbar Royal Association of Bulls and Horses, the keepers and trainers of the animals. Lad for Ladva as cement mixers of my Khumbar Builders Guild and from the Dal of Urad Hanumant of my empire's grain reserves. The security guards providing security on the grains and harvesting of crops. Please note that the global Bharadva and Ladva families are not Brahmins or Rajputs as when they were creating their Hindu associations the Shri Prajapati Khumbas were installing my ancestors with the royal and imperial titles of Scandinavia and the rest of the world, and remain largely within the mainstream of society and community. Brahma. Bhagwan Kurma Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing the southeast of England. Here you will see the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Ambaji Chitroda wearing a triangle crown. The Kumbharat Chitra was celebrated during my empire of Bhagwan Karma Chitroda during the Kalpa age. There are many Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda within another Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing many of my ancestor. For example, there is a Indian Hindu Gujarati Khumbarom and within the image you can see Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda sitting in meditation pose. This Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of Bhagwan Ambaji Chitroda is in celebration to myself revealing my Lingeshwar title and the dinosaur species known as Discosaurus. Brahma. Maf Darshan. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Maf Darshan. The official name of the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Maf Darshan is a representation of using the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda to develop and make cities, towns and villages. The image opposite is showing the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Maf Darshan OM. You will notice that the town layout is in the shape of the Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati Om. From this picture and others of towns, villages, cities, etc., the evidence of my own ancestors' creation and rightful ownership via paying to make these properties is provided and shown. This means that rightfully any buildings that the UK government has acquired within a certain period of time belong to myself as my inheritance, and the government of the UK can no longer have any use of them as I have my own private agenda. Brahma. Bhagwan Ambaji Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda of Bhagwan Ambaji Chitroda. My ancestor has a secret all around the world and universe. The Bhagwan Ambaji Chitroda formula is quite simple. All provinces, districts, realms, settlements, names in the world and universe add up to Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, myself, and are made up of other codex, town, village or city names. The Bhagwan Ambaji Chitroda formula represents my Ambaji heritage to all Ambaji mandirs as they were created by Bhagwan Atari Chitroda, my ancestor from my Bhagwan Mangal Dev Chitroda family dynasty, as palaces, forts, citadels and mandir homes. From 1736 to 1850 the Christian English got the naming system in the wrong place and offset the town names to Kumbharat Chitra. This error makes it impossible for Britain to become a weak country as the mistake is very evident, and therefore non-Indian Hindus are quite scared or paranoid about the triangle shape. This means that all people with a great family heritage and history cannot live or stay in the United Kingdom as they cannot represent the triangle or my Indian Hindu Kumbharata Codex. The wrong town positioning and naming makes the United Kingdom out of sync with the rest of the world, and especially immigrants from other countries either born or living in the United Kingdom, as the wrong shapes, angles, town positioning and distance all been recorded on satellite and maps. Brahma. Maf Darshan. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Maf Darshan. The official name of the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Maf Darshan is a representation of using the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda to develop and make cities, towns and villages. The image opposite is showing the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Maf Darshan OM. You will notice that the town layout is in the shape of the Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati Om. From this picture and others of towns, villages, cities, etc., the evidence of my own ancestors' creation and rightful ownership via paying to make these properties is provided and shown. This means that rightfully any buildings that the UK government has acquired within a certain period of time belong to myself as my inheritance, and the government of the UK can no longer have any use of them as I have my own private agenda. Brahma. Bhagwan Makkad Chitroda. The Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Bhagwan Makkad Chitroda in Wales. The Atar Codex of Makkad is in relation to my decoding of the Welsh language. The term Makkad is for Makkadamuch or alligator is not a dragon. The next slide shows the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Kumbhera Chitroda holding myself Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda as a baby. Brahma. The Surya Rat of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. This Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda is showing Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda with his Surya Rat. The image is located in northwest Wales and can be seen when tilting Wales 90 degrees west. The entire Katha of driving chariots in Wales was a very popular social standard. Much of Wales is covered in silt and clay deposits from the Ice Age and the Great Flood, covering up the old tracks and areas that hosted the chariot races in the First Age. Brahma. Bhagwan Navisan Chitroda. My ancestor Bhagwan Navisan Chitroda, also known with hidden Attar Codex as Isaac Newton. Grave of Bhagwan Navisan Chitroda or Isaac Newton can be found in Westminster Abbey near the Houses of Parliament, London, UK, and is clearly a Indian Hindu Khumbar religion relic. The grave and scriptures were found in 1643 India, Gujarat, and moved to the UK in 1727. You will notice Bhagwan Navisan Chitroda sitting underneath an apple tree meditating with apples on the treetop. Brahma. Bhagwan Methan Chitroda. This is the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda showing Bhagwan Methan Chitroda. The face of my ancestor Bhagwan Methan Chitroda can clearly be seen in the image. My ancestor Bhagwan Methan Chitroda was the real Isaac Newton and had created Vignan scriptures on force, mass, acceleration, and created all the Newtonian theories from way back in time before the Great Flood. The tomb of Bhagwan Methan Chitroda reveals some interesting artifacts that were moved to the UK, including the portraits in oil of his face that are a little faded from the last coat of paint. Brahma. Sri Sorathia Prajapati Community. Please note that these surnames are of copies of the original families that reside in India due to Hindu Khumbar military law and do not leave India. They were employed by my great-grandfather Maharana Mahadityaraj Mahaprithviraj Solaraj along con Lakshmi Narayan Sorath Bhagwan Prajapatinath Chitroda Yoiv to make the government and install my Attar Codex. Bharadwa, Buhecha, Chandegara, Chavada, Chhaya, Dabhi, Devaliya, Phatania, Gadia, Gedia, Gola, Jagtiya, Jogia, Kamalia, Kansara, Korea, Ladwa, Mandora, Savania, Vadukul, Varu, Vegad, Visavdiya, Yadav. They are all the first members of the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community when originated and established in 1777. And had no affiliation to religion, even Hinduism. Therefore, people that did not believe in religion could be taken on in making the mission a success. These families are all the seeded people from their own family histories. They are all greater than Brahmins, Rajputs, Shamans, tribals and people of non-Indian Hindu religions, due to the making of governments and countries. Please note that there is not a Chitroda family listed, as only I carry the only true lineage and heritage, and so the others are just star surname and not real. Many would describe them as actors or actresses. The Sri Sorathia Prajapati community are bound to themselves within the eternal chakra and its rules, and therefore if a member marries a non-Sri Sorathia Prajapati community, then both lose their rights as they are no longer part of the Sri Sorathia Prajapati community. Global achievements. I am the 25th addition to the list of Sri Sorathia Prajapati community. And the title of Sri Sorathia Prajapati was celebrated by my great-grandfather and is my inheritance title for forming and including the remaining 83 surnames within the next Prajapati community to be formed and then broader until the next 1008 surnames are included and the final set of 10,008 adding up to 11,125 surnames of the entire Indian Hindu Khumbar Empire. The Sri Sorathia Prajapati have been working for Attar Codex 979 since the start of time. These surnames of Indian Hindu Khumbar create and make India into Hindustan. Without the interference of non-Indian Hindus and other Hindus due to historical kingdom rights, lineage rights, tracing rights and Indian government law, as the forts, castles and ancient buildings belong to my own ancestry. The Buddhist Chinese are all translations of the 11,125 surnames and related to the Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom via their surname decoding and family lineage. Please note that the history of Indian Hindu Khumbar empires note the history of all humans on the planet, and there is no race older or more prestigious in the known universe than the Indian Hindu Khumbars. Brahma. Bank of England at a codex. The image shows a carved mural of Bhagwan Brahma Chitroda. The mural is located in the Bank of England. There are many of these designs everywhere in London and all over the world, providing evidence of the economies made by the proceeds of my metropolitan Prajapati Khumbar Empire as sovereign state provincial kingdoms in relation to Bhagwan Shiva Chitroda. This is considered a hidden attar as its coding is to my own sovereignty in England and the rest of the world as a network of my global sovereign growth fund empire continuity. The Bank of England has collected funds and money through colonialism that belong to myself, have not ever been the property of the British government or the British monarchy. As I alone am the owner of the global sovereign land as written in statements that have been recorded in religious books and other documents of my presence and understanding. And therefore the British monarchy and the British government cannot have any powers over the City of London as it was set up and funded by my own ancestors as the Corporation of London, one of the oldest colonial time business municipalities of my global Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom. Brahma ending chapter of colonial scam. The summary of the recent colonialism that ended globally in 1947 brought many lies into society. My ancestral artifacts were taken out of India by theft without any sort of document or receipt or permission. The artifacts ended up in places around the world kept by various governments, private collections, museums, etc., with myself as the rightful inheritor of the buildings and the pieces of history. To summarize, the administration of my own history shows the current errors made by the European colonialists in translation of the scriptures and articles and artifacts. And so they have no connection to the British monarchy or the British government and exist as my inheritance. So it can be said, for instance, that Isaac Newton did not exist, and the name is a utter summary of my ancestral artifacts stolen from tombs and buildings from around the world and count as my inheritance. The word Isaac Newton is made from a boundary of the area that was excavated by my ancestors, then looted or moved around the world for myself as my sovereign inheritance as the chairman of the contents and container. The procedure requires my name registered as the chairman of the business so the history can be concluded. Each letter of Attar, Isaac Newton, is a town name codex within the boundary of the area located in the state of Gujarat, India, from where the Westminster and other artifacts came from. Other items have their own Attar codex. Many of the people of European countries that join the bogus Royal European scam end up with animal titles such as dame equals female dog. It's similar to the urban slang word bitch. Today the British monarchy and other European self-elected royals are a representation of the debt that the independent European countries got themselves into via bad governance. Many of the public that meet the European royals are meeting with the people that got their country into debt and are trying to falsify themselves with a title. It is not a show of real royalty, and so the decision made by government needs to be corrected for the benefit of the world's public interest and understanding of colonial history. As the government itself is becoming independent with my own ancestral funds, they too do not require a monarchy that represents bad wartime judgments and fortification of global sovereign independence of the citizens of the United Kingdom and other countries, as there is no debt to pay with the forecasting and the global financial mechanism tools that my ancestors have showed to the public, and so money has become a self-run, recognized, connected global enterprise. Therefore, Britain and other countries must start to recover from the World War I and II time politics and the state of depression they faced by the Nazi scandal and positioning of colonial time business people into royal claims, as the British government and people did not own any of my heritage to ever sell or gamble, as accounts can be found. Brahma. Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda the Veer. The Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, showing after great flood Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda. You will notice an image of Bhagwan Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda turned into Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda as a summarized entity of my empire due to the Great Flood. The previous dynasty before Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda was Bhagwan Veera Chitroda. The Great Flood submerged most of the plateau and mountainous regions remain, creating a thinner outline of the same Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The next slide shows the original tablet created by my ancestor Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, the first Bhagwan of my Matsya Chitroda dynasty. The stone tablet shows engravings of coordinates laid out on top of a faded color painting of the original Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The tablet is commercially known as part of my Mesopotamian collection, and many original pictures that were painted over them have faded. None of the current inhabitants of this area are part of my Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom, as they were always nishads and slave migrants from other countries. These types of stone Mesopotamian tablets were made by my ancestors and printed my Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom coordinates for directions and other instructions given to the naval fleets of my Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda empire. Brahma. The real Mesopotamian Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Empire. The highlighted area shows the real Mesopotamian empire of Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda. The area before the Great Flood was my kingdom of Bhagwan Karma Chitroda, also known as Bhagwan Kurma Chitroda Empire. The headquarters of this Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom are located at India, Gujarat, Junagadh. There are several Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda located in this area under the greater Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Bhagwan Veera Chitroda kingdom that were made into Mesopotamian tablets. The migration from the Southeast Asian countries moved with the naval fleets to occupy the Middle East, Iran, Iraq and Syria areas as the rivers dried up. It was the central trading zone between Europe and Asia by boats. Brahma. Bhagwan Karma Chitroda. This Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda shows Bhagwan Kartikaya Chitroda. The image is celebrated in three methods. One is the body with the bull and lion, and the third is with a total human figure. Bhagwan Kartikaya Chitroda equals human figure, Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda as lion figure, and myself as the wings. Bhagwan Krishna Chitroda celebrated these swarups and wrote about them as Bhagwan Karma Chitroda into Bhagwan Kurma Chitroda, that added to the chapter update of the Vishnu Puran. As scriptures were updated upon empire evolution through many aspects, including linking old languages to create characters of new languages. Please note that the Mesopotamian and Babylonian idols, sculptures and murals were stolen from India and moved to other countries, as there was no such Assyrian culture or empire as documented in recent history. The empires continued moving to establish commerce. Nomads inhabited the empire's areas thousands of years later, not knowing the Indian Hindu Khumbar empire history of Matsya, Mesopotamia, and Metropolitan. Brahma. World Political Map. This is the current world political map of the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. It was created by my great-grandfather Bhagwan Natha Chitroda. You will notice that there are countries that have been created in the form of Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. The modern political map with independent countries and their respected government are known as the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda Videshpra Naksha. This political map has been arranged to make them resemble an aspect of the Kumbharat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. On the next slide you will see countries that other look like the war hog. Brahma. The need for ether. The people of the world are not familiar with the seed of language coding of Maya Codex. They do not have the reasoning or logic to understand Indian Hindu Kumbhas, as they have not been through the same mental and spiritual conditioning along with consuming the diet of Indian Hindu Kumbhas, making the Indian Hindu Kumbha a totally different kind of entity that cannot mix with non-Indian Hindus, as they are not of the same type of conditioned human species. A non-Indian Hindu Kumbha trying to understand and practice the Atta Codex is considered less than an Indian Hindu that doesn't understand it. This is because non-Indian Hindus have not performed bhakti penance for thousands of years or conducted astrological rituals of Hindu worship during the time of penance. And so they cannot belong to the same type of human species to ever have any rights or authority of Hinduism or its aspects. Africans and Chinese are not part of my achievements by nationality and religion and are hypothetical products in demand of my Atta Codex to be globalized and installed in their own countries, governments, celebrities and communities, as they cannot represent my Itihas. My universal synchronized global history appears in everything with my Atta Codex that the public will need to learn, to process the understanding of logic through my place-time equations of creation into practical completion. Brahma. Titles. The Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom is the only valid kingdom to have titles of royal and imperial justification. The titles are an award from the entity that has been achieved with belonging to the Indian Hindu Khumbar Empire with identification and full family tracing and Atta values. Non-Indian Hindu Khumbas are not entitled to royal or imperial titles, as they do not have the sovereignty and belonging to creating planet Earth as the Indian Hindu Khumbas have. Hence the titles of Maharaja, Mahadipati, Mahaditya Raj, Maharana, Maharishi etc. are Indian Hindu Khumbar royal titles, and King, Queen, Prince and Princess are imperial Indian Hindu Khumbar titles depending on the mathematical chapter of the attributes of my ancestors' life that achieved each title. Each set of chapters takes around 3190 years to play, and the full family lineage and tracing justifies the imperial Indian Hindu Khumbar kingdom titles. Indian Hindu Khumbas do not believe in non-Indian Hindu Khumbas with royal or imperial titles, as it is not possible from history for non-Indian Hindu Khumbas to ever achieve them, as the Atta is continuous and has a past way into the future from Prince King or the arrival of the Queen after 2nd of August 2027. Thus my title of Bhagwan Indra Brahma Chitroda number 51. प्रजापति भगवान जैन पृथ्वी महा अटारी योजना क्रिया जयेश भगवानजी चित्रोडा the 108th. Brahma. Indian Hindu Khumbar Gujarati Government. The Indian Hindu Khumbar government is the oldest and the only valid functioning government since the start of time. It has never dislodged itself from the mainstream and prides itself on the creation of the universe and other planetary laws and systems installed into society that created culture and domesticated valid society with democracy and equality, whilst the Indian Hindu Khumbas maintain the high ranks of society and control. The most recent update installation was the creation of the world governments and the Indian government in particular, that saw the installation of the Shamaveda as the Samar Vidhan written by my ancestor Bhagwan Natha Chitroda and installed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The former political party that installed it was the founded, created and funded by my ancestor Bhagwan Chanakya Chitroda and his Jangsun Party 240 to 1951 of India Gujarat, that kept its connections with the Chinese political party known as Joseon Society, as both are from the same family and from the time of creating the Great Wall of China by my ancestor Bhagwan Tanakhumb Chitroda. Later the Jangsun Party turned into the Jana Sangh Party 1951 to 1977 led by my uncle Shrimantri Prajapati Yadav, Pradhan Vamari Raghav Yadav, Royal District of Junagadh and Manav, the rest predicted and evaluated in the Mahabharat, first written by my great-great-grandfather Bhagwan Anand Chitroda. Then in 1977 the deployment of the Janta movement created by the RSS saturated the remaining non-voting areas with public rights, forming the Janta Party 1977 to 1980 with various attributes of the party still present with the Jan abbreviation within the party name. The Janta Party in 1980 then became the majority party known as the BJP with tracing back to the 2nd century. Many of the mainstream political party members formed the BJP Bharatiya Janata Party, and the Yadavs also formed the recently created Samajwadi Party and started merging with smaller representatives of villages and towns with the bicycle logo in classical Hindu Khumbar fashion, presenting the question of why is there an ancient Hindu mandir with a bicycle carving. The anomaly was answered by the tracing of the mandir to its original Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda located in Iraq. Answering the question with a mystery question of how old the bicycle really is. The Yadavas are mainstream and throughout the ages, even if my ancestors were far, they still use the system to ask me questions in the same format as part of the global enlightenment through standard protocols of the age. Similar to teacher, what does this mean, or the child that raised his hand up first to ask the question. Please understand that India Gujarat is made up of 3 Hindu royal provinces, Porbandar, Rajkot and Junagadh, and are private sovereign public and privately owned municipalities, kingdoms where foreign entities such as Government of India, judges or police are sometimes not valid. Brahma. The validity of developed governments. The entire concept of my ancestors creating the government was to support the citizens and create growth. Like this video, I am traceable to every government on the planet through the methods of my created Atta Codex and Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda, as my ancestors migrated and moved people to their natural abodes where their body types enjoy more benefits from the environments through diet, culture and lifestyle. There are many purposes to creating governments. One of the principal factors is to find and have access to the true heir of the country, or greater, to keep in control of larger membership associations or affiliates. If the government has not identified the greatest family lineage and history of the people of the land they serve, then it may wait to be older than even the establishment of the practicing government itself, and then the citizen must self-declare his or her rights through making his or her history and itihas known to the public. As information tools and agencies have the duty to communicate this information to the citizen, family, friends and community, rendering awareness. Otherwise, the government has failed in its only task of using espionage to create a logical analysis of the country's future, and therefore cannot achieve greater, making the government employees and its monarchy as avatars of pigs or hogs as defined by my Bhagwan Vedha Chitroda empire. They do not progress to the next level of Bhagwan Matsya Chitroda all the way to Bhagwan Kalki Chitroda. The requirement of Satyayug is to bring the ancient symbols of the kingdom to make conclusions by adding you as Attar. This can only be done by myself as the only Indian Hindu Khumbar Prajapati. For example, Attar matrices for coordinate mapping J, red triangle, J, Jaj, Yoy, J are the complete Attar values. The J or final physical mapping or viewing of the Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda requires angles from different heights with points to distance. This enables completion with Attar viewing modes that provides angle from the core of the planet in relation to a pinprinted place designated by the user. For example, 25 degrees angle from the core at a distance mapped by finding or viewing a point in Khumbarat Chitra of Jayesh Bhagwanji Chitroda. This methodology is called Attar, Alphase to Alkage, and is the physical translation of Sahakotao that translates to Sahakuotao and then to Sahakotao and finally Sarketao. Please note that Sah has two values, one Katha and the other Attar. In this case, Sah equals sin adjacent hypotenuse, Ko equals Ka as opposite hypotenuse, and To as tan opposite adjacent. The Katha is called Aditya Junaman Omkar Sintan equals Bhagwan Constantine Mepaji Chitroda. Aditya Junaman equals Ajdiya Junaman equals today's light of old equals Illuminati. My grandfather is written in the Royal Imperial heritage and family lineage of Britain. Hence trigonometry becomes Aptara true numetry or Katha true Ramatri to Ganatri. Brahma. The Hindu Khumbar disclaimer. This entire history is connected to the Indian Hindus. There have been several attempts of people trying to imagine that they understand the fabric and makeup of the matrix and have tried to include themselves to a world and understanding that is not part of their culture, religion or heritage. For example, my own grandfather H.R.H. Bhagwanji Chitroda was the last king of Siam before he created Burma, Bhutan, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. During this time my grandfather was concluding the INA wars that eliminated the colonialists and made Muslim Kabas from the colonial masters of the Muslims in the Mahajapahit kingdom as summarized in various versions of the Ramayana. Britain's Empress Queen Victoria was proven false heritage to the royal British family tree and was discontinued then evicted by the British government from the late 1850s. As the colonial age was sponsored by my great-grandfather Bhagwanji Chitroda Srinathji I, the only direct tracing to Alfred the Great. He incorporated the British Empire and ruled it for its only 55 years of its existence as the Hindu Khumbar Prajapati. During that time he established my heritage as God, a continuous title within the global government framework of society, and ended the British Empire in 1940s. इंद्रद्रुम की आकाशवाणी। जलाओ दिया और बनो अग्नि, अगर मैं कहूँ कूद तो कूदो, अगर मैं कहूँ जम तो जम, अगर मैं कहूँ रम तो रम हो, जब तक मैं ना कहूँ तब तक मेरी ख्वाहिश का पालन करो। हिंदू खुंबर का पाठ, नात और जाट, मेरी आज्ञा का पालन करो। द्वारकाधीश का नाथ, नागेश्वर की बात, आउजर की मेरी शान, बिटाडिया मोटो नाम का साथ। ये धरती आसमान और ग्रहों में है मेरी पेचा, ब्रह्मांड में देख लो मेरी ललकार।